Okay, always starts with a smile, guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the invite code in. Copied. We should be having Inviticus and Hamza joining us. Come on, you can do it. My computer can hopefully pull through. It's chopping and a changing, weeping and a wailing, and a gnashing of teeth. What's in that one? Oh, I seem to have frozen. I seem to be stuck here. Oh, there.
Hello.
Oh, hello, mate. How are you? Sorry, my computer is crap, for want of a better word. So I just had to restart it.
I've got insane news that I want to share.
Do tell, bro. Do tell.
Very good news. Can I share my screen?
If you send it up here, I'll put it onto the add to stage.
You're aware of the Shroud of Turin, right?
I am, yeah. Yeah.
This is just yesterday, they have disclosed that it's definitely confirmed to be not a European forgery due to the wax. So
I can help you out on that one. There's more than just the wax, bro.
Yeah, so the flax used was grown in the Middle East, but with the actual like the carbon dating, they know that it was in and around the time of Jesus. Like, there's no doubt that it was in and around the time of Jesus. So we can. It's not the final seal of approval, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. That's for sure.
I think carbon dating is quite difficult in the Middle East as well, just based on like the dryness of the air and things like that. So that's pretty groundbreaking. That.
Oh yeah.
There's also something about how it's only on the very, very top layer and it's not deep enough. It's incredible. I've done 4 months ago. I did the Shroud of Turin because I was quite skeptical of it until I looked into it. So the way that it's been burnt onto it, it can't have been done by man. It's only on the very, very top layer. It doesn't penetrate through. So they're suggesting plasma, which is really interesting. It's the fifth form of, we have liquid, solid, gas, and plasma. I think is something that it's a new one.
Right there.
Yeah. So that is something that this is just another adding onto it, but it is burnt on that cannot be replicated by man, which is very interesting, really interesting. So yeah, I like all that stuff. So we've got the title up here, biblical archaeology in the Bible, which I think is really, really cool. What's very interesting, if we juxtapose Christianity against Islam, you'll notice that there is a trend, a modern trend, where people are burying the evidence of the Quran and building over it a shopping mall. We obviously need a shopping mall over this this thing. If I just type it in, if we if I just type it in,
even a Wikipedia page just on
yeah, pull it up. That's what I was going for. The Wikipedia page. Yeah, so it's a modern phenomenon that they keep on building over the Muslim evidence of a Muslim evidence of the holy sites. And something that made me laugh the other day. They say they've got Adam's grave. Have you seen it? It's 70 foot long, but Adam's. But Adam's really, really thin. Unless Adam was a 70-foot worm, it's just ridiculous. Someone pull it up. It talks about his cubits in height.
He's 90, like 90 feet tall or something mental like that.
70 feet tall. Someone go and pull that one up. The picture of it, because I don't know how to do the share screen thing. It's laughable how thin Adam is and how tall he is.
So 20 cubits is 35 feet. I'll get Adam's grave up.
Yeah, he is in Adam's grave. He is. Yeah, if you go find his grave as well, where they say he is, it's hilarious that they're not seeing.
I'm looking at it now, and that is ridiculous. It's like a particle accelerator.
Yeah, it looks like a particle accelerator. So that one made me laugh. I saw it for the first time the other day, but they keep on burying over this one. If I was the Muslims, I'd bury over Adam's grave. But another thing to think about is Adam. I've got 2 points here that are going to blow holes and everything. Yeah, Adam. What happened? Was Adam the first man? Then we had the flood of Noah.
Yes.
How could we find Adam's grave if the whole world was turned upside down and flooded?
That's a fair point.
A bit of a crazy one there, isn't it? And then he landed in India. Adam was in India when he came to the earth, but India didn't exist as a continent, as a country, because everything was land and there was 5 rivers.
I think it's quite common knowledge that there was a massive flood. I think if you look at every religion in history, there is a flood myth in their religion. And not only that, we've got geographical evidence of floods happening in the Philippines, all of these coastal areas. There's videos on it everywhere. It's called the Younger Dryas.
Yeah. So another thing is interesting is the Mariana Trench. Have you heard of the Mariana Trench?
Yeah.
So when they talk about these 5 rivers coming out of the Garden of Eden, you can see that the 5 major rivers, and you can watch them go underneath the sea level. And there's huge channels where if you go down, there is the channel of water there. The rivers still exist, basically. These rivers still exist, going exactly where River Sidon, River Euphrates. There's another few rivers. So these rivers are testable to this day.
Definitely,
and they continue underneath the sea. So it's so interesting that we are presuming that Adam landed in India and was 70 foot tall. So he can't have landed in India. Yeah, that's where he went. He when he was kicked out of the garden, he went to India, and his wife went somewhere else, and they tried to find each other. India didn't exist. It hadn't been flooded yet. And then when we look at his body, he is shaped like a hadron collider. Like, what did you say? A particle accelerator. The graveyard like a particle accelerator. So it's mental. It's really mental. But if we look at the Genesis account, you can see the 5 rivers crisscrossing all across exactly as the Bible described them. And then we see the fairy tale of Atlantis. Atlantis was mentioned in one book. Plato. The reason they put Atlantis into the human psyche is because every time we find a city under, they go, "Oh, is this Atlantis?" No, this was a city that was built when that area was on land. Yeah. No one goes scuba diving to build a city.
No.
Maybe in Dubai at the moment they're doing stuff like that, but not to my knowledge. So.
I don't know if you've seen The Eye of the Sahara.
I have seen The Eye of the Sahara.
Quite cool. It's quite interesting, I think.
It is interesting.
Yeah, did an episode on that. Funny enough.
What do we think The Eye of the Sahara is? Do we think it was a big civilization?
So my interest. This is quite an interesting theory. This is quite not well discussed. But that area, you can definitely tell just from like the topographic view of I don't know if you've seen the satellites images of it. To me, it looks like it was underwater for an extensive period of time. There's not only salt deposits, there are erosion, like you know how you can tell erosion. I don't know if you've ever looked under the water when you've been in the sea and you can see the sands ribbed like that.
Yeah.
You can see that quite a lot in the satellite views from that area.
Yeah, it's so interesting, the evidence left behind.
Yeah.
Have you looked into? There is a guy that talks about. I think it's in the Book of Jubilees. It's extra canonical, but he's still that you can use apocryphal books from information because they're written by a man. It uses information describing the Garden of Eden. You can infer to the Garden of Eden and says Philippines when you see it describes the Ophir and the gold and things like that and what it would be like. And where the Garden of Eden was, people say Iran, some people say the Philippines. I think if I was to throw my hat, I would throw it over near the Philippines.
I think I'd throw it near Africa.
Yeah. Why would you throw it near Africa?
Just because I think like civilization started there.
Yeah.
Scientifically as well, it also started there. I mean, we were driven out of Europe by the Neanderthals, and we were kind of forced back into Africa. And then we slowly started to learn and kill better because we used ranged weapons and they didn't do that. We become smarter than them. We drove them out of Europe.
So I would ask you this question. If a man was to live 900 years, yeah, Adam lived 900 years. What do you, I want to talk for a few minutes here. Men's skeletons get thicker, don't they? Yeah, we kind of get denser.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to
any health conditions,
yeah, we just get sturdier and yeah, we kind of stack up a little bit.
it depends what you do. Actually, if you're exercising, doing strength training, then definitely there's scientific evidence to prove that your bones are denser.
Yeah, would you think that the skeletons that we found would look like Neanderthals? Because I'm not denying skeletons. I'm denying. I don't believe in this Neanderthals. I believe that they were skeletons of people that lived 900 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'll juxtapose this one as well. I like that word today. Terrible lizards. Do you know what a terrible lizard is?
No, you'll have to explain that one to me.
Dinosaur. That's what the word dinosaur means. It came into our language in 1856, off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we would refer to the dragons in the Bible. And if you were a lizard, have you ever seen crocodiles?
Mm-hmm.
And crocodiles will go, they'll grow to maturity. So humans will grow to 18.
Don't you mean 8?
Yeah, we kind of have an age of maturity where we grow up and we kind of reach our fullest. Then we just get a bit wider. If you were to be a lizard, they reach the age of maturity and then they grow a little bit bigger every year. Now, if you were to live for 1,000 years as an animal and you were a lizard, you would keep on growing year on year on year on year, and you would be left with giant skeletons of lizards. Interesting, isn't it? If we allow something to reach its maturity and then its genetic makeup allows it to grow a little bit bigger each year, it would leave skeletons of giant lizards. So I'm not denying the fossil records. I'm saying, no, the Bible describes people living for 900 years. The human skeleton would look like a Neanderthal, and dinosaurs would look like giant lizards, which that's what the word is. They're just changing what you think it is. So
some species of dinosaurs will be giant lizards, but there's I think birds are the closest living relatives to dinosaurs. They're descendants of the dinosaurs, supposedly.
Where do you stand on evolution?
The mainstream idea of it, I definitely 90% agree with. Obviously, I've got an open mind. Can't really see that.
This is he's right next to me, which is randomly. This is the only picture of a man I have up in my house because I think it's brilliant. And he's called Kent Hovind, and I bought all his stuff. And he talks about Dr. Kent Hovind, creation science evangelist. He is incredible, really, really funny, and he has Dinosaur Adventureland. Come to Dinosaur Adventureland, 288 Pearl Lane, Repton. So it's supposed to, I'd listen to him. He's one of my, I've not listened to him for a while because my kind of interests sway in what I'm studying at the moment. But he talks about these kind of things, and he challenges evolutionists to come up and debate him, and he offers them money if they can prove it. Now, if we go to Genesis, it said they will give after their kind. So a dog makes a dog, which could turn into a wolf, could turn a chihuahua into this, could turn an American bulldog into a British bulldog. Dogs, the dogs, basically. It doesn't allow them to change species. So when I hear them linking chickens, birds to animals, to dinosaurs, that goes against what God says. So I refute that one, but I believe that we can change. Like, we constantly change, but we will always be the same species. This is why.
Let me ask you this: so if the Quran was a 90% copy of the Bible, you would say it's an exact copy of the Bible, because 90% of what it makes up the Bible is in the Quran. You would say that's definitely a copy.
Mm-hmm.
You could also say the same for skeletons of these animals. So if 90% of their genetic makeup and their bone structure is very, very 90% relevant to the dinosaurs, wouldn't you then say that it's a descendant of the dinosaurs?
No, I'd say there's the same designer, but what you're inferring to is the apes, that we have a lot of genetic makeup with the apes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's
we
not
share 90% of our DNA with a banana, so that's
we don't share as much as they've been told in the mainstream media. I think it's 83%, but it's something that we believe because it's been repeated to us a lot.
Yeah,
with
a theory at the end of the day, isn't it? We're always learning and discovering.
Yeah, of course, man. Of course. I'm going to put it. Does this go to the main chat?
If you put it in the private chat, I think it just sends to us.
Yeah, I'll put it in the main chat. Kent Hovind. If anyone wants to just go onto this guy's channel, I have a picture of him in my house. That's how cool he is. He happened to be next to me, literally, because I brought him up the other day. So I will do a live presentation, a PowerPoint presentation in the next few weeks with his material, talking about evolution. Now, the thing that makes me think about evolution, and I think it's the smoking gun, the one that I use, is we all know the evolutionary process. We all went to school. We all listened through evolution. I love biology. It's one of my favorite subjects, especially human biology. A caterpillar. How can a caterpillar evolve from a caterpillar into a cocoon and into a butterfly? How is that possible? You guys can take the floor, but you will see the problems when you process it in your head. How does the evolutionary process, which is natural selection through time, allow a caterpillar to change into a cocoon and then into a butterfly and mate on the other side?
There's definitely going to be things that go unanswered for a period of time, but I think evolution is undeniable. And I'd say that it's the same level as to what we have with gravity at the minute, where it's still stuck as a theory, but we shouldn't negate the fact that there's flaws within the theory, and come to the conclusion that because there's more flaws than there is actual positives from it. I don't think that's what we should do. I think we should have a look at the evidence, and the evidence is more strong for evolution than it's weak for evolution.
And Adam, I'll be honest with you, mate. I think your skill set is better suited to refuting Islam. I think that's where you're at, mate. That is what I like watching. And I like, that's where the fight is, I think, against
I think that the fight is on all things for us to see what God's word is. And we always try and put man's teachings on top of things. But my main thing, the way my brain works, is critical thinking. So I look at something, break it down. I don't trust people. I've been a conspiracy theorist all my life, really. I looked into many conspiracies, and then I found the Bible, which was, I call it the final rabbit hole. Yeah, it's the final rabbit hole. My friend who got born again, this old guy, he said, he always talks, oh, have you been down that conspiracy? Have you been down the final rabbit hole? So I actually prefer this kind of field. I think of how real and literal that we can take the Bible. Yeah. And I think that a lot of it is not poo-pooed, but made into poetry, or we're not taking the Bible as literally as it is. Yeah. So with evolution, I knew evolution was fake years ago. Another thing for I looked into that, but when I found Kent Hovind, I just loved him. I listened to him as well. I wouldn't like to go into a full discussion with it because I don't think there's time for it. I would point to someone a lot better than me. Yeah. And look into Kent Hovind. There's money for anyone who can beat him on evolution. But God says they'll give after the kind. That's kind of cool enough for me. And when you mentioned in Leviticus, you mentioned about gravity. I love science. Now, have you ever heard of viscosity, the laws of viscosity?
I think I briefly touched on it, but it's been a while. It's been a while since I looked into gravity. That's for sure.
I'm actually a flat earther. I was a flat earther at 5, and when I got to the Bible, I laughed for months because there was 200 flat Earth Bible verses all the way through it, which was really interesting. But viscosity, just sticking to viscosity, this is heavy, so it drops. Heavy things go down in different liquids, and it looks to the naked eye that gravity and viscosity appear to show the same things in our observation. Then if you add theory to it, you can kind of get lost. So if gravity is to hold things, attract things together, we have the sun here, and then we have the earth going round in a circle. Doesn't it go around in a circle? It goes around in a circle, doesn't it? Yeah. In the model we're taught from school, we see that gravity keeps it in a constant loop, but it actually is quite elliptical. You understand?
Yeah, it's like an oval. Yeah, that's how we get seasons.
It's kind of an oval. I was just wondering how, with gravity, that's capable. If something's heading out towards it, how it doesn't pull it in, and we are not all one blob. How so? It would make more sense if it was a complete circle. Do you understand? If gravity is real, we're all being one blob.
What you're asking is, how does the Earth not do a perfect ellipses around the sun?
I would not say it couldn't do a perfect ellipses because gravity would pull it in, but it would make more sense if it was perfectly circular rather than it going out and it losing that connection because it's further away, it's getting weaker, and then it suddenly pulls itself back in. That makes even less sense.
Well, I'd argue that
isn't it due to the centipede? Like you got centrifugal and centripetal force.
Yeah. So that pushes it outwards.
Yeah. So it's like if I have a bottle of water and I flip the bottle of water, the water will always punch towards the bottle. So it keeps its structure all throughout the process. Mm-hmm. It's similar to that. So when the water is punching on the back of the water bottle, it keeps its structure.
But it'd have to have a string attached to it of some kind. What's that? It would have to have a string attached to it of some kind.
What, in like a practical sense or electrical?
Yeah, to let it not keep going outwards because the force is getting weaker. It's not held in space, is nothing.
I'm pretty sure this is where like the moon has its purpose. Like they work along.
Yeah.
They work alongside each other in order to push and pull and get that motion that it does.
Yeah.
It works as a magnet in a sense.
So that's why we get when the tide goes out and the tide goes in. That's because of the moon.
Yeah.
Would that pull if it can pull the water? Would it not pull itself into the earth?
Pull itself into the earth.
Would the moon's gravity, if it has the power to move the waves, would it not slowly drag itself into the earth?
What, the moon into the earth?
Yeah.
Well, the moon orbits as well. Moon orbits.
I understand, but wouldn't that orbit get quicker and quicker and quicker, and the force of gravity gets stronger and stronger and stronger until we have a big bang, and the Earth is with us, like in the sea?
No, because they're all orbiting in separate positions. So if they all, it's like a magnet. If you got the positive and the negatives, and if the magnets are not attracted, then they'll obviously push away, and if they are, they'll come together, and they work in this perfect harmony where the magnets are working in the. This is just an abbreviate. This is just an abbreviation of it, and it's just an example. They work in perfect harmony where they orbit around each other.
Can I show you a verse that'll make you think? And it's not about this one, but it's around the throne is like.
Just a quick question: if you think the Earth's flat, why is every other planet round?
I don't know.
Do you also think that the amount of people that work in NASA, there's about 50,000 people that work in NASA. Do you believe that they've all been lied to?
Do you know what NASA means in Hebrew?
It means it's something along the lines of deception, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it was set up by Nazis.
I understand, but do you think that 50,000 people are capable of being all indoctrinated and not one of them coming out and saying, actually, do you know what? I've actually got proof, like proof, because there's not strong evidence to the contrary that the Earth is round.
I'd ask. I mean, I studied this for 4 years without being Christian. There was a gap of 5 years until I found God. So, I mean, I've studied it so much that I used to preach the flat Earth. But I don't bring it up. It's probably the first time anyone's ever heard me say it, because it doesn't matter what shape it is. But I would adhere to the Bible being perfect and then go to verses like this one. Do you want to read that Revelation 4:3?
Yeah, let me get up.
It's very interesting. You guys are going to see the majesty of God's throne, and maybe see the effect of God's throne with your own naked eye at night time.
And he that sat was to look upon a jasper and sardine stone, and there was a rainbow round the throne, in sight like unto an emerald.
Cool. And he that sat was looking upon like sat on the throne. King James version, brilliant. And he that sat was looking upon like a jasper and sardine stone, and there was a rainbow about the throne, in sight like unto an emerald. Around the throne is something that looks like a rainbow that's green.
Yeah, this is Revelation. So the whole of Revelations are visions. They're not. They're about the future that are to come, and this is talking about the throne of God. So it's a vision of the throne.
But the throne of God is the same. But have you ever seen the Northern Lights?
Aurora Borealis.
I've seen videos, yeah.
Aurora Borealis, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do they look like unto an emerald rainbow?
Depends.
There's multiple. It's not just that they show signs blue, yellow, green, so on.
They do. Yeah, they do. It's like to an emerald rainbow. He sits upon the throne, looking down at us like grasshoppers, and the earth is his footstool. Where on a globe can you have a footstool? Which is it, on the east, on the south, on the north?
You can certainly have a footstool on a spherical object.
In fact, I'd argue you could have more positions to put your feet up.
That's why we have the X and Y axis, because that is the point of contact for the footstool.
It's interesting. What I would say to you is, let God be true and every man a liar, and we can only look at things. And I would encourage you to look at test the earth scientifically with your own eyes. So when we look into the sky God says he leaves the sun, moon, and stars for signs, seasons, and something else. I'm doing the Adam King translation here. But when we look, when we look up at the sky, we see the sun and the moon eclipsing. I think we're going to have eclipse on the 8th, but the sun is 93.3 billion miles away, and the moon is 20, and the moon is 24.
If an object's further away, like let's say this is the moon.
I get that. Yeah, I understand perspective. It's just, it's very interesting that I mean, it is coincidental that we get eclipses, and they happen to fall. A lot of them happen to fall on holy days, so it is a coincidence. So that we do see them roughly the same size in the sky. Yeah. You know, when they start off smaller in the morning, then they get bigger, and then they get smaller at night.
Yeah, for the verses where it talks about, like, for example, this one in Revelations, I don't think we can use that as flat Earth because it's a vision, and it's not.
No, it's not. I believe that's looking at God's throne, and that's got nothing to do with the flat Earth. That's saying that over there looks like an emerald rainbow in the north. And if the flat Earth model is right, God sits down looking under the earth like a footstool. So
yeah, but it's a vision. It's a vision. So I wouldn't. But like all of the verses in like Genesis, for example, the way I look at the language, it's there's a lot of anthropomorphic language as well as like metaphorical language. And there's not a lot of stuff to be taken in the literal sense, because if we look at the time and place where the Torah was given, it was given mainly to pagans at the time that believed in more than one deity. So it would be given to those who need to understand that there is one God, and also it's not really given as a science textbook. We don't look at Genesis and see all of the things in Genesis to be taken literally.
Well, I would disagree.
You're telling me the earth doesn't set in a muddy puddle?
But what is very interesting, until maybe the last 120 years, all civilizations have thought that the earth was flat, and the drawings in the KGV of the earth, and the Jewish people and the Egyptian people and everyone would show the earth to be flat and a firmament. You know, they do show these things in all civilizations until very recently.
So Adam, I've got two things to ask you. So have you seen that video of these flat earthers trying to debunk the round earth? And what they've done is they set up a camera at a certain height, and they went I think it was like a couple of miles to see the curve.
The laser test. Yeah, I've done that.
He holds up a torch and he says, if the thing can see it, if the camera can see it, that means the earth's flat. And he holds the torch up and he doesn't see it.
Are you using that from one perspective? Because they've done that and they've proven it the other way. I'd be very careful on looking at just one individual video. So that's a test you can do, because we have water level which goes flat, and on the salt plains, I think it's in Peru, they do these kind of tests. So it's that proves it.
Volume though. So if no matter how small or big, all the water's always going to be flat, no matter if it's a sphere or not.
Water, it's water level. But I just encourage you to look into it, because it doesn't need I'm happy to look at it. Trust me, because it blew my mind, and that's how I knew that there was a God. When I was younger, I believed in a God. I was New Age, bro. Like, I came out the New Age.
The way I look at Genesis is, like I said, it was given to those at that specific time. And in 2 Timothy 3:16, Paul says, all scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction.
Sorry, boys, I'm gonna have to jump off. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you boys soon.
God bless you. Right. Oh, Mutaz, at the stage. Mutaz, how are you, brother? God bless you.
Salam al-Masih and everyone else.
How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, brother.
God bless you. I am really good. I've had a great day at work. I've come back. I've got some spicy chicken, and we're talking deep Genesis, whether it is anthropomorphized or it is literal. I'll throw it out to you here, Mutaz. Do you think what shape do you think the Earth is?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't trust NASA. To be honest with you, because they use fisheye lenses, and Yes. By the way, I know their deception from like 2 years ago. So they always use the fisheye lenses on their rockets. So it will give you that illusion that the Earth is sphere. But when you actually they use the normal lenses, it will seems like it is actually flat. Now, how do I know this? Now we have about two agencies. One, the NASA agency, which is in the United States. But if you notice, NASA agency is located in California, in Hollywood, because that's where they use like devices. Yeah, the green screen and CGI and all that stuff. Coincidence? I don't know. But the second agency, which is in Russia, they launched a rocket launcher while they used the normal lenses. Now watch this. That launcher was so fast, it hits some kind of a roof, like a
Oh, yeah.
solid roof. You know what I'm saying? So this actually confirms that the Bible, that there is a firmament, a solid firmament that you can go outside of it. And when you go to the NASA agency, when they practice on how they are going to be in space, they actually practice it underwater.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know. You tell me.
I've separated the waters above from the waters below.
Exactly. So nobody actually went to the moon. And when they, back in the 60s, they used to actually record themselves in the desert of Nevada with black and white to give you that illusion that they are as if they are in the moon. But in reality, they were actually recording themselves in the desert using black and white and slow motion, because that will give you this illusion that they are no gravity.
Have you seen Kubrick?
Yeah.
When they used Kubrick, one of the best geniuses for film ever, the greatest man for film that's ever existed. They have lots of photos with him, with all the NASA people, and he was basically the director of the NASA Hollywood set for the moon landing, which is very interesting. But the reason for people wanting to make you believe that you came from a big bang from nothing and that the Bible's wrong is to hide in God's creation. Because if you have the earth as the center, God above, you realize how important you are, that everything that is made was made for you, with you in mind. So it's
Exactly.
What do you think they get out of it, be the Earth being flat, though? What would their reasoning be with that?
It either is or it isn't. It's not a reasoning, but they're trying to hide the Bible, trying to hide God's creation. If you believe that you are one planet of billions of planets floating through space and everything came from a big bang, then you believe in evolution. You don't believe in
Basically, my friend, can you tell me what is your name,
Adam.
my friend? Yeah. Yes, I know your name, Adam, but I want to know this
Invictus.
gentleman.
Invictus.
Invictus. You guys talk.
Invictus.
I'm having 2 minutes.
Yeah. Listen, my friend, Invictus, they want you to believe that you came from a monkey, from an ape. This is basically a way to dehumanize you into a lesser being, that you are just an evolved ape, which is puts you in a lower self-esteem, so they can convince you that you are nothing more than an evolved animal. This is very, you know what I'm saying, like a very dehumanizing you into believing in this fact that
I would,
nothing came out of nothing. Yeah, go ahead.
I would actually, to the contrary to that, I would disagree and say that the fact that we are evolved from this species of animal that we're the only life on this planet out of all of the other galaxies, so on and so forth, it makes me appreciate life more than us just being alone here on this rock. The fact that God chooses us to be on this one spot out of all of the places within the universe, I think that proves it more so that God is obvious, because of the fine tuning argument and how we are evolved through the animals, and how life is just this. Our consciousness is set for life.
I mean, can chaos create order? So a Big Bang is chaos.
Oh, I
Can
don't
it create
believe. I'm not an atheist. I don't believe in the Big Bang.
No, I
If
know
you
you're not
believe-
atheist. Yeah. We're not saying you're an atheist, bro, at all.
Yeah.
But I think that this subject is something that isn't talked about, and I've just had not come round to it. But I read the Bible, and then I've worked it out way before the Bible through using my eyes, really. As I said, the sun and the moon roughly are the same size, and then when you look up at the stars, they're all roughly the same size, and they're all roughly the same size. So logically, we would see giant stars, small stars, big stars. We wouldn't see these kind of, some a little bit brighter than others, a little bit bigger, but they're all roughly the same size, and the sun and the moon are the same size. There's only two sizes in the sky, roughly. There's not a variation of sizes in the sky, which statistically is a bit odd.
How expansive do you believe the universe to be?
Oh, massive. Because but above there, there's another heaven. There's heavens. Yeah, there's heavens.
Yeah, and also, by the way, Adam, if you even read the book of Enoch, it will even explain to you even more. But by the way, listen, I don't take the book of Enoch like 100%.
Yeah, I study it though.
You feel me? But if you read the book of Enoch, it will give you a glimpse of how these heavens look like. So basically, in the Bible, it only shows you that there is like 3 heavens. But if you read the book of Enoch, it will give you even more deeper, that there are 10 heavens, and each heaven has a place, and it's used for purpose, which is very, very weird and interesting. But if it's true, it will be very, very scary, because if you look at the second heavens, where there are trapped angels.
Yeah.
And this is
he cast them down. That's their realm.
Exactly. This is where God casts down the angels if they are disobeyed, and it's very interesting, because if you look at the Noah's Ark, it's so huge, right? Like, my question is, were there normal human beings with Noah, or were the watchers, which is the angel that has been cast down, helped Noah to build this huge ass ark? That's my question, because this is very interesting. Because I don't know, maybe it could be the book of Enoch was taken out, wasn't added to the Bible. I don't know. You tell me.
I don't believe it was taken out, but I do believe that there is so much wisdom and so much truth in the book of Enoch. I don't think it's God inspired, but it is incredible. I mean, Enoch, when it was written, Enoch lived thousands of years before, yet it's accredited to him. It's not actually written by Enoch, but it is. I love studying the book of Enoch. Very interesting.
I take a very different approach to this than the both of you. Like, for example, I take the approach with like Dr. William Lane Craig on this, more so that we are an evolved species that are not here through the process that Genesis says, but it's in a different, and it's a metaphorical way. So it is like Genesis, but it's said to be taken in a metaphorical way. But as well as that, it is also to be in a literal way. So there's some parts that are literal and some parts that are not. because at the time this was being taught to those who were polytheistic, pagan, so on and so forth, and they don't have an understanding of a monotheistic God and how that can work. I can't deny evolution. I think it's something that it's obvious.
Okay.
As same for like the flat Earth. Like there's so much evidence to the contrary of the flat Earth theory that it's just not something that I can deny. Like even if you go on an airplane, you can clearly see the spherical aspect of the Earth, even if you're in an airplane.
Can you? Have you been?
Yeah.
Have you looked on the outside of an airplane? I mean, I've been on a few, and I looked.
I've done a high altitude jump from an airplane,
and you saw the curve.
You can see curvature of the Earth on a high altitude jump. Yes.
Okay, I didn't see that when the plane journeys. I was looking at those things
Yep.
many years, maybe 15 years. 15 years. Yeah, 12 years I've been looking at things like this. But I it's interesting. It is interesting. But the thing is, this is a secondary issue. It's a secondary. I do rest my hat on the Earth being flat because I rest my hat on the things that I can test critically, and I believe that the Word of God is perfect, and a lot of the things that are said to be allegorical are actually just as they are, which is beautiful, I think. It's interesting. Where do you get your teachings from? Does the teaching of the church support your idea in evolution?
I think evolution is definitely compatible with Christianity. There's no clash there. Like this is why I've got 2 Timothy 3:16 up, for example. Paul says here, all scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness. So what I get from this is, over the time when humans gather knowledge on things about God and God's work, we can understand God through a process rather than thinking we have God on lockdown in one book, because we can use other things to understand God. We don't just need to look at Genesis. We can look at things external from the Bible to understand how God works.
Okay, but I have a simple question for you, brother. Where does it say in the Bible that we are evolved from apes?
Yeah, it's if God was to say to the people in Genesis that we was evolved from apes, do you seriously think people at that time would acknowledge the fact that we were evolved from apes? It was given to people at a specific time in a specific region to help them understand God. If God was to throw that at them straight off the bat, they'd take it as tomfoolery for people who have not seen the visions of God. So, and
does God care about our emotions or the truth?
Both.
I don't think he cares about our emotions. He cares
Of course
about
he does.
Truth does hurt, it's not,
Do you not think
yeah,
God cares for our emotions?
He does care for our emotions, but the truth is the truth.
Yeah, so both. So he cares for our emotions, but also the truth.
He wouldn't put our emotions above truth.
No, I'm not saying that. But I think there's no contradictory. There's like, you can accept one as well as the other. Like you can accept the Bible as well as the theory of evolution. Like there's no clash whatsoever.
So in the fossil record, can you show a transition from one animal to the other? So we kind of see dogs, and we kind of see turtles, but we don't see them slowly changing. We can see different types of turtles, but we don't see a constant change through something evolving they might infer that this one skeleton proves a transition. And if you're going to go on the evidence of science books, how they show you evolution is you draw a picture and then they have an arrow and then they draw another picture, and that arrow is the evidence of it changing. I love science. Like, I was gifted in science at school. Like my science teacher was my hero. He's the reason I'm into reggae music. Like, he was my hero. I love biology. But that line was what the evidence was. It was one picture and then a line that showed it becomes something else, and then another line that showed it becomes something else. But in the fossil record, we don't see that constant change. We see variation because God said they'll give after their time. So we have a microevolution, but we don't have macroevolution, species becoming other species.
So you want evidence in between.
You would just see a transition in skeletons all the time, a constant transition from one thing to another. Nothing would actually be, there would never be a solid repetition of certain types of skeletons.
We do. We see fossil evidence of evolution.
Could you show me?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool. Does anybody hold the same viewpoints as Invictus, and do they want to come up? Because I don't want it to be two people versus one, you know, in this discussion. Secondary, it's all secondary, these discussions. I love having them. I'll just put the link in there. If anyone feels evolution is true, they're more than welcome to come up. I think that would be a lot better.
We have someone, his name is Jean-Marc. He wrote a comment saying that so people could believe that there were human-headed winged beasts, but they will never believe a man came from monkeys. Yeah, because those winged beasts are actually a metaphorical example of what a kingdom and a government is. Because
so why do you take that as why do you take that as metaphorical but not what Genesis is?
Because in the book of Daniel, it actually explains who are the two horns and what is a beast. For example, a horn is a symbolic of a kingdom, and a beast is a symbolic of government. If you read the book of Enoch, if you read the book of Daniel, you will see that the prophet Daniel, he actually explained the king that he had visions. He had a vision of a huge statue of a man. On top, there's like a gold, and then in the bottom of his body of the statue is like silver, and then on his leg, I think it's can you help me, Adam? I think the statue.
The statue,
the one
gold, silver, brass, and iron and clay mixed together.
Exactly. Now, exactly. Now, these things are basically our empires.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? In a symbolic way. So it's not actually literally, and this is why in the book of Revelation, it talks about the beast with 7 heads, and each head has a horn. This is actually talks about 7 countries with their government, and on top of the beast there's like a woman. That's a symbolic of the church, of the apostate church, basically. So so my answer to you, Jean-Marc, you are very ignorant. So if you actually think that you are smarter, come here and let's have a debate. I'm a very nice person, by the way.
Yeah, I think I love walking with you, Mutaz. When I asked that question, I knew that you would. I thought that you would have looked into the same things that I've looked into. John, do you want to pop up, mate, and play devil's advocate? Because we are all fallible on this stage, and we can all question and test what we believe, which is brilliant. We are just debating evolution and the shape of the earth and these big questions. So if you want to jump up, bro, you're more than welcome.
Yeah. So this here is the process of evolution, and how it's a gradual process over periods of time. Like here, this shows the bone density and bone structure of a horse. So this was in its original form, and this is like the modern horse that we have.
Mhm.
And
A
we
small
can also,
horse to a big horse.
what's that? Sorry.
Small horse to a big horse.
No, as in like this. That this is the modern horse, and this was the horse like at its original state.
Okay. I've got no problem with that, mate, because I see people breed different dogs in a few generations. So I've got no problem with a horse changing to be a bigger horse or a smaller horse. We have what's it
No,
called?
that's the point, though. That's the point. That's the theory of evolution in a nutshell. The theory of evolution is segregating the weak from the strong. So that weak little horse would have had to, over a period of time, would have had to evolve to be a stronger horse as it is in the modern day environment. So if I use an example of the caterpillar that you used earlier, if
yeah,
a
go to the
caterpillar,
caterpillar.
if a caterpillar was at its original form and it was, let's say it was black, in the Amazon rainforest, we all
Yeah.
know that caterpillars mainly situate on leaves and plants. And
You're using the moth thing. I love that one. That's fine. We're not arguing with I'm not arguing with that one. That's microevolution, and God said they'll give after the kind. So God says they will change. So we're both agreeing on this thing, bro. Honestly.
so you agree
We're
with
not.
evolution then?
No, microevolution. Animals changing into species is speciating. So we've got no problem with that one. The thing that I'll go for two of them because we haven't been able to do the caterpillar one. You won't be able to do it. So it's a bit of a kill shot, that one. But
Do you
how
think-
can
Do you think
something evolve?
do you think because we don't know how to do it, thus we should come
the
to
word
the
of God?
conclusion that it's not a thing?
Yes.
So this is
what we can test. That's theory over science.
this is where I think it gets dangerous, because if we do that, if we come to the conclusion that it's all a lie and that we've been lied to, the people before the theory of gravity, they would, if they was to deny the fact that gravity was a thing, gravity still would be in the process of being understood, and they would have rejected it.
Gravity looks like, the apple. It's Newton, isn't it? When the apple fell on his head, the reason the apple fell on its head is because it's heavier than air. So it's just viscosity. It's heavy things go to the bottom.
Yeah, but if we reference gravity to the theory of evolution, if we reference gravity to the Earth being flat, for example, I could argue that gravity is also a contender to God, in the same way that you think that the Earth being in a spherical is not a contender to God. So I don't see why you accept gravity, but you deny the Earth being. What?
I don't accept gravity. I don't accept gravity.
You don't accept gravity.
No, I accept viscosity.
Jump off a cliff and then you will accept gravity.
No, but that's viscosity. That's because I'm heavier than the air.
No, that's
heavy things. Yeah, that's because
No.
you have different liquids. Heavy liquids go to the bottom. They're denser. That's just the law of viscosity, which is an equation. So that's scientific equation. It's not a theory. Viscosity is not a theory. It's a scientific equation.
So the Earth is obviously constantly in a spinning form. It's in a constant spinning motion, right?
Do you believe that?
Of 100%. That's where we get. That's why we are currently pinned to the floor as we speak, due to gravity and due to the current spin of the Earth.
How fast does the Earth spin round? Have you seen Mutaz? I'm sure you must know about there's lots of 666 equations in the physics of moving through space. Have you seen those numbers?
Yeah. I have actually seen it, but I have a question for this brother. In 1991, the Earth was about 66.1 billion years. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, after 30 years, the Earth is about 160 billion years. Can you answer, can you give me a logical answer to this weird thing that is actually going on? Because does that mean that we actually move, like, for example, if the Earth is about 66 billion years, correct?
It's
That was in 1991.
no,
Now
the
in
Earth,
24.
the Earth is 4.5 billion years. The Earth is
No,
4.5.
it was 13.3. It changes all the time, bro. What the date they'll give for the Earth
Yeah,
changes all the time.
that's because over time, scientists, the technology gains over time. We get better technology over
So they
time.
were wrong before, and now they're right.
It's not so much that they were, it's more so that they were right at the time. They believed that they were right, but technology has pointed towards the fact that it's now at 4.5 billion years.
Okay, so does that mean that we should trust scientists 100%?
Not 100%. That's why it's still called the theory of evolution. But the evidence points more towards it being factual than it not being a fact. That's why I believe
the evidence agrees with what God says, so they'll give after the kind. So we're not arguing that animals don't change or that things don't change according to their environment. We're not. We're just saying that they won't change into another species. We're not. We're honestly. So it does point to what God says, but it doesn't point to them changing the species.
so. What would it like? I understand that there's complications with it, but I don't think drawing the conclusion that there's something mysterious and strange going on that's the conclusion we should draw. We should more likely come to the result of we are figuring it out and we will eventually find it out. Not so much that we're being lied to our whole lives. I think that's a bit far-fetched.
I do think that Satan is the kingdom of this. I mean, how many Christians do you believe that everyone who's not a Christian is believing a lie?
Yeah, of course, there's people that will be fooled.
So the 1.8 billion Muslims, are they correct?
But I don't find any, like, what would the point be in there? There's nothing that would draw people away from God. That evolution and gravity, all of this is compatible with the Bible. So you can have that view or you don't have to have that view. It's still compatible.
You don't have to have that view, but it would make you be able to question the Bible. A lot of people have left trusting the Bible by following man's doctrines and science and saying, "Oh, this is nonsense." And then a lot of people have come to Christianity, such as myself, through testing the Bible scientifically. That's my story. I know that's lots of other people's stories as well. And most of the famous scientists that atheists or science believers quote were actually Christian, and they read the Bible and they went, what does that mean? And they went to study it because they believed the word of God is perfect, but they wanted to understand it. And what science is doing, it's not creating anything, it's describing God's creation, helping us understand what has already been created. That's what science is.
That's why most scientists have been Christian, because they've come to accept the fact that the theory of evolution is a thing, gravity is a thing, the Earth is spherical. Most Christians believe that.
Do you know what Charles Darwin's book is called?
No.
Charles Darwin. What's it called, Mutas? Preferred races. I think Hitler was a big fan of Darwin. Charles, let me pull this up because it's gonna make your skin crawl. Charles Darwin.
So, my friend, do you believe that our intelligence was evolved or inherited by an intelligent designer?
Do you think our intelligence has evolved?
Yes, or is it inherited by some creator out there? Like, for example, how did we know that this fruit called apple? Did we teach ourselves that this fruit called apple, or did we actually know that this fruit called apple? Did somebody else taught us what is this and what is that, or did we just learn from ourselves?
We taught ourselves.
I think Adam didn't he?
That's why loads of species within the sea that we're yet to discover. We're finding a new variant of species every single year in the sea, and we name them.
Mm-hmm.
So we're evolving.
So the title of Charles Darwin, The Origin of Species, by means of natural selection or the preservation of favoured races in the struggle of life. So with evolution, you can Hitler used his book to justify killing people because he thought it was purifying the races. That's the full length of the Origin of Species is what you think it's called, but it was actually called The Origin of Species by means of natural selection or the preservation of favoured races in the struggle of life.
I mean, we could point bad things to everyone of what they've done. We could say that Winston Churchill
justified murdering people through Charles Darwin's teaching, who was a Freemason.
Winston Churchill done the same thing. Winston Churchill starved people in Asian countries.
I'm not denying that. Yeah, I'm not denying that. I'm just saying
we can still take from what he's done being good, but we shouldn't pinpoint the bad as being an overflow of his good. It shouldn't be because of that bad thing that he's done. We should just disregard what he says. If someone on the news, and actually let's not use the news because the news is a bit shady. Let's use someone that's got a degree within physics, yet this person has been known to have a criminal, has been known to be a criminal. We shouldn't just disregard what he says because he's been known as a criminal. We should still accept all of the knowledge that he has. And it's the same with Darwin. Just because he has ties with these people, it doesn't necessarily mean that we should disregard what they're saying.
No, I agree with that. I mean, the head evangelist at my church, we did a talk the other day. I've actually got it recorded, and it's talking about how many people, how many people have been murdered due to, I've got it here. Listen to this one.
He can't understand why the universe is understandable without God. Okay, so
is that clear?
Here's a question. Can you see proving my first point, proving the bold? Just below that, here's the question that we have to ask scientists who are atheists. And I wonder if you can sort of follow this. How can we believe that what our brains tell us about the world is the truth? How can we believe what our brains tell us about the world?
Let me skip it.
Professor of electronics, brain's reaction.
Hang on.
This is heavily touching in epistemology.
That was the wrong bit. Let me just go to the bit, and I'll give you the Adam King translation. He's talking about how science, if you have an atheistic viewpoint or you believe in evolution, you can then it's called diocese. That's the wrong word. Democide, where they kill their own people, and more people have been killed through people who don't believe in God and believe in evolution than all the wars put together. So the most murders have been committed. The most murders in this world in the 19th century, the last 120 years, have been committed by people who believed in evolution and didn't believe in God. They killed their own people by saying they're pure in their race.
Yeah, communism has been the biggest.
Yeah. This is what we talk about. Yeah. So I mean, that comes out from evolution.
I don't deny that. Like the 21st century alone, atheism has killed more people than we've even imagined. Like I think it's like 150 million people in the 21st century alone due to communism, due to World War II, like atheistic acts. But I don't think we should go into like like this is, I think, what like within epistemology, you're heavily touching on like skepticism. Like everything becomes very skeptical, and you question it to the point where it gets to. Have you heard of the brain in the vat theory?
No, you can
So
talk.
the
Tell us.
brain in the vat is basically where you get to a point in life where if you question everything so much, there's a theory where there's a mad scientist that's keeping your brain in a vat and that's working on your brain, and all you are is just a brain. And if we go in life questioning everything to its extent where the earth is flat, evolution's fake, gravity is non-existent, we then heavily flawed within skepticism, where we're just in this loop of everything's not real, and we're just a brain in a vat that's controlled by a mad scientist that is telling us to think these thoughts in a way where we shouldn't be. And that's
No, but
very dangerous.
yeah, it is very dangerous. That's why I stand on the word of God and not my own understanding.
Yep, but the word of God can also work through people. So God can work through people for us to understand him more. So I could say that God worked through those Albert Einstein. He worked through Albert Einstein to understand the theory of evolution, and Albert Einstein was, as we know, he was a theist. So being a theist, we could have said that Albert Einstein had the belief in God, and God wanted to work through Albert Einstein, even though he was a Jew. We can get rid of that. We could work.
The Jews have the most scientific discoveries, and by percentile are the most intelligent.
Christians.
That's a fact.
Christians.
No. The Jewish people are the most intelligent people.
No, Christians.
IQ.
Christians have discovered and invented more things than any other religion.
But there's 16 million Jews on the earth.
Yeah,
but they've had the person. They are the most intelligent person.
Yeah,
like
for the congregation of its size, but due to the extensive amount of Christians, the more brain power, the more we're more likely to understand, because there's more of us. So by the process of elimination and probability, we're more likely to get people that are cleverer than the Jews, because they're a small minority.
Have you looked at the what's that award for discovering things? There's a global award for discovering things. Very famous award. I wish it's escaping me. I've had a very long day at work.
Oppenheimer got it, didn't he? Oppenheimer got the award.
Is it recently? We get the awards all the time.
Yeah, the guy who created dynamite.
Nobel Prize. Now, proportionally, the Nobel Prizes are given out to Jews in a ridiculous rate, which is very interesting. But this is all subjective. But scientifically, they are. I mean, I love genetics. I think it's so interesting. But yeah, it's interesting.
The guy John Mark says, then how would we explain this with the population of Muslims? The Muslims have had very strong revelations in terms of inventions, so on and so forth. Like I wouldn't withdraw the Muslims from this. They've also invented quite a few things.
Yeah, it's just people. We need to separate our faith from our brain power.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I'm a bumbling idiot. I'm a bunch of cells that live 70 years and I haven't discovered anything. And I'm Christian, so but the Nobel Prizes proportionally are discoveries are ridiculously in favour of Jews being more intelligent. I don't think that's.
I think a lot of people in the chat think I'm atheist. I am a Christian.
No, you're not atheist. Yeah. What are you, Orthodox or?
Yeah, I'm on my journey at the minute between Orthodoxy and Catholicism, but it's most like I'm praying about it, and I'm.
Cool. Is that based around the people around you or the book? I'm non-denominational. I'm just Christian.
No, it's just based solely on the teachings of Jesus.
Okay. I mean, we'll try and stick to the subject on this one. yeah, we'll try and stick to the subject on this one, but it's interesting. I think there's only one church, but it says the 7 spirits of the churches. You know, and Paul writes 7 letters to the churches, and they're all doing something a little bit different. So I don't think Christianity is held in a building or a title, but like when we get to heaven, yeah, there's a famous saying that my pastor said, because I'm going to tell you it's famous because it changed my life. And when I was in my Alpha course in my infancy, looking at Christianity, it said, Andy, Lenny, his nickname's Lenny, said, Lenny, what do you think? You know, which denomination do you think is right? And he says, Adam, I reckon we'll all get to heaven and we'll all realise we got it a little bit wrong.
Yeah,
and I think
100%.
that brilliant, and I think that marries up with Paul writing 7 letters and the 7 spirits of the churches. So we you know, it's not housed in a building or a name, and that's why I've always said I'm a born again Christian, and I'm growing.
The beauty with like the Orthodox and the Catholic faith is the root of tradition. If we don't I think, like, if we don't have a basis of tradition, we can fall away. Like, for example, the Reformation, I think it has its positives, but it also has its flaws in a sense where there's a lot of bifurcation within the church, where you've got the Baptists who believe once saved, always saved, and that you should only be baptized at an older age. You shouldn't be baptized at a young age. Then you've got the oneness Pentecostals. You've got your normal.
There's loads of Christians.
It kind of like bifurcates a lot, and it causes more confusion than it causes like coercion. Like, I just think it's best to have a tradition in the church. And if we look at the early church fathers, as it proceeds from the early church fathers, it's clear that that tradition should be held, I think, personally.
I mean,
I actually I agree with brother Invictus, because you know what I'm saying, tradition like it gives you like a stable path, like you know what this means and you know what this means. But the problem with tradition is that sometimes people, they take it as the actual religion itself, and they forget what it actually says on this on the scripture. Because the problem here is that, you know, God doesn't want tradition. He doesn't want a religion. That's the issue. But the problem with human beings, when they worship something, they make it a religion, while it is itself, it is not a religion. For example, when you look at this the scripture, especially the KJV, you know what I'm saying, when you look at the description that God says, do not make a graven images, and you watch the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church are not following literally what it says on the book.
Okay,
I'm not saying no, wait. I agree. I agree that there is so many churches out there, and it is, and a lot of them, you know, it causes confusion, and I agree with that, because I'm a new believer, by the way. So this is a huge problem, and I do agree with you, but we have to actually, you know, look at the scripture, what it says, and follow it. You know what I'm saying? So that's all. Go ahead.
Yeah, with that, what I'd say to that, you mentioned the we should not make graven images. When that was said, again, it was given to specific people at a specific time, and it was given to the pagans, and they were well known for seeing deities within actual statues. They truly believed that the statues themselves were deities, and this is why God at the time said that to them. But if we go along with what you said, for example, my brother Adam here just admitted that he has an image of whoever that guy was in his house.
That's a joke.
He literally has an image of him in his house, and he looks at it every single day or whatever. Or for example, if you watch, I don't know if you've watched the film The Passion of Christ, that can be seen as idolatry. If you watch The Chosen, that is idolatry, because we're seeing something that is not replicated by the church. So
do you think there's a difference between venerating Jesus and then venerating images of anything but him? So venerating saints. Do you think there's a difference between that? I mean, I've got a tattoo on my arm of Calvary, but I don't put Jesus on the cross. If I wore a cross on my neck, I wouldn't put his image on there. I wouldn't put him on the cross.
God knows our heart. God knows our heart. If someone is looking at an actual image and seeing that as the deity, then I think they'll be held accountable. But no one that I know is literally worshipping the image for it what it is in a physical form. We know that God is spirit in John 4:24. We know God is spirit. And if people see it as God is literally the cross that is placed in my church, then they'll be held accountable for that. God knows our heart, and he will understand our heart, and it will be held accountable, as I said, for how we perceive the world rather than how our external, how we might look external to the world, how someone might perceive how we're looking at the cross. That's not how God will see it. He'll look to our heart.
Can I agree with that. Invictus, can I bullet point this argument? And just in the chat, I want you to copy this thing. And this is me and Jono last night. I think it was 3.5 hours talking about veneration and going through it scripturally. To just watch this, and we'll go back to the evidence of the Bible and this kind of subject. But this topic we talked about for I think it was 4 hours last night. And it's really interesting. We had Francis Boulay pop up. We had quite a few people pop up from Orthodoxy, and we had a really lovely chat. But I would look at that one, and that would be a really good place to see the other side, the other viewpoint. But the thing that we've got to remember is all the way through the Bible, the prophets that we follow get things wrong and do adultery and do many things different wrong. So it's a secondary issue. But I want to keep on topic today. But please, brother, have a look at that one. And that's a dialogue between people on this subject for 4 hours I did yesterday. It is brilliant. Yeah. Do we have anyone else in the chat that wants to jump up? Because it would be better with more people. The new UG, you've been talking large in my chats before. Do you want to pop up, mate? What have we got here?
What do you think of this? Do you believe this to be a forgery and not actual?
I believe it's in a film studio, mate. Yeah.
So
the reason it goes backwards on itself, have you ever realised how? What? Yeah, I believe that's CGI, bro.
Yeah, that's CGI.
Yeah, I believe that's CGI.
So it could be a CGI, or they are using a green screen to give you that illusion that they are in space, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, why do you not see the stars in the background?
What is it? What do they get? Like, I understand you've got these beliefs.
They're hiding God's creation.
You've got these, but that's where it doesn't make sense to me, because you also agreed and you accepted the fact that there were still people coming to God through the fact of evolution, through the fact of gravity, through just science in general, or just the way they perceive it.
I'm saying that was the opposite to what you're saying. People are coming to God. One of my best mates came to God through flat earth because he remembered me preaching it. Then he studied it. And then I said, oh, he came over. He said, can I come in? He says, yeah, of course you can. I had a cup of tea. And he was saying, is the earth flat? And he'd been studying it for months on his own, in his own little world. And then I said, yeah. And then I showed him Bible verses. And I think he's Christian now. He's my mate. So, yeah, he came to that and he remembered me talking about it 9 years ago when he used to smoke weed and just talk about all sorts of crazy stuff. So he remembered those conversations and he came to me. So he came to it through the flat earth.
Yeah. By the way, Adam, can you show our brother a video? It's called the Fishbowl Dominic.
Dominic, yeah. Fishbowl Dominic.
There was a guy, he used to work in the NASA agency, and he told the truth about the Earth is actually not sphere, and there's like a solid firmament, and they actually fired him because he exposed the truth. And I think he's also a British, by the way.
What how much money did he get for that? That's what I'd like to know.
Oh, I've worked out to share video.
When he said the truth, Operation Fishbowl,
Yeah,
something
so I
like
played
that. Yeah.
25 seconds, but we can do that. Well, I can show you stars after that.
Johnston Island was the center of launch and experimental activity.
No. This is a very old. The fishbowl, Dominic, was actually started in somewhere in the 2000s.
Launch complex, joined later by Nike Hercules
Fishbowl,
and
Dominic.
Striker units,
Hold on.
plus a second Thor
I'm gonna
pad.
look for
On
it.
Operation Fishbowl, nuclear detonations rent the sky 5 times over the Johnston
If I
Island.
told you I know someone that's an astronaut that went to space, would you believe me? And that they've said
No.
that the Earth is spherical.
No.
No.
Even
No. Hey, I'm just going to show you what stars look like up close.
yeah, that's. Do you know what that's called? That's called
Tell me.
scintillation. That's called scintillation. It's the fragment of. It's the fragment of life from. It's the fragment of light from the star to the Earth. It's scintillation. It's distortion of. It's distortion of light. That's how.
Very
That's,
pretty scintillation, then, isn't it?
it is. That's because it's light that's distorted. If you look at if you shine a light through a glass, for example, this glass, it will shatter. The light will shatter and fragment in different spaces. That is what's happening with a star as it hits its beam. It's called scintillation.
Very pretty scintillation. Vernon von Braun, on his grave, he was the founder of NASA, and on his grave, Vernon von Braun, 1912 to 1977. On his gravestone, he has got Psalm 19:1. Do you want to pull up Psalm 19:1? No, I've got it open.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. I think John Mark in the chat's denying the fact that light goes through water.
Yeah, light does go through water. Yeah. Psalm 19:1. Oh, hang on. Let me just.
I feel like I'm on a.
Psalm 19:1.
Talking to loads of skeptics. This. I'm not criticizing. What it seems to me is it. Like I looked into epistemology and I studied how we gain knowledge, which is the study of knowledge, that's epistemology. And if you become so skeptical with everything, you eventually fall to the brain in the vat theory, where we're just not believing in anything we do. Like I don't believe that you're on the opposite side of England in Yorkshire or wherever you are.
Yorkshire. But can I read this one out? Because on his grave, the founder of NASA, which he might have wanted to get something off his chest, and you can look this up. It's a grave. I've just seen a picture of it. That he put this psalm: "The heavens declare the glory of God; the skies proclaim the work of His hands."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you show that? Can you show that on screen?
I don't know how to do a video. I'm learning, mate. I got my first video up a few seconds ago. How do I do that?
John, I used an analogy. I didn't say that it's water. When I used the light fragmenting through water, I used an analogy of scintillation.
Hang on. Have you seen this one as well? Light.
I know what you mean now because of.
Yeah, have you seen when they talk about light?
The firmament being water and all that, yeah.
Yeah, have you seen if they make light underwater through sonic frequencies? Have you heard about that one? And this is, I'll try and show it. Sonic illuminescence, sonic illumination, light.
I don't know what Mark means. I think we've got a bit of a misunderstanding. This is the funny thing with like I was having a conversation about this the other day with like messaging, like how emotion is withdrawn from messages, like the flow as well. So like arguments arise so frequently in couples due to texts when it's not even there. Like you can be saying something without like a comma, for example, using like grammar just in general, and it can literally cause arguments. It's been known to cause so many arguments, which I think is quite funny. But anyway, sorry, off topic.
Yeah, my writing is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
It's
Like John, I don't want to debate. I just trying to understand what you were saying.
I'm just gonna show this one. This is a light caused underneath the water, and I just want you to think what this could kind of point to. This is science. This is an experiment. I'm gonna pray it now. Yeah, and this should just pop on. We can see it. It is playing. Don't worry. It's just a long intro. Oh, there we go. I'll put a bit of volume on.
What was that? Like frequency waves.
I was transfixed to look at this spherical flask of fluid, and you'd look into the center, and in the center see a glowing blue-purple light, which could be seen with the unaided eye. It looked like a star in the heavens.
Seth Putterman called it the star in a jar, a tiny spot of bright light contained in a flask of liquid.
Go Jesus. Go Jesus.
This star in a jar is made when a sound wave is passed through a small bubble inside a flask of liquid. And this sound wave makes the bubble do something remarkable. First it expands, then it collapses. And this collapse happens so violently that vapor molecules trapped inside the bubble slam together and heat up so much that the bubble gives off an incredible burst of heat and light, several thousand times a second, giving the appearance of a star. What made the phenomenon so exciting was the temperature of this star in a jar. On its surface alone, the light burns at tens of thousands of degrees. And Seth Putterman now contemplated a tantalizing possibility. Could the core of the collapsing bubble be even hotter? Hot enough for fusion?
One of the mysteries of sonoluminescence is to determine exactly how hot the interior of the bubble gets. In the sun, the interior can be millions of degrees, hot enough to cause fusion. And the thought crossed my mind that perhaps inside the collapsing bubble, the interior of the bubble might also get hot enough to cause fusion.
If so, this would be something truly amazing. By simply bombarding tiny bubbles with sound waves, temperatures of over 10 million degrees would be created. And nuclear fusion, the same reaction that powers the sun, would be happening almost effortlessly here on Earth.
Yeah, this is fusion and fission is one thing that is baffling scientists at the minute. Like they still can't comprehend that, like how it even happens. They have a basic understanding, but there's a lot that's coming from it. Like for example, in Geneva, they've got a I can't remember the name of it, but they're pushing two parts. They're trying to create a black hole, pretty much. They're smashing two particles at the
Adam?
speed of light together.
Yeah.
Can I just share my screen? There's a video I found.
Go.
Hopefully, I can expose the truth, because I tried to find it on YouTube, but I couldn't, because YouTube always trying to delete the truth.
Yeah.
You know
I
what I'm
know
saying?
about it.
So I found this video on website called Internet Archive. NASA admits erasing Apollo moon landing telemetry tapes. So let's watch this.
Before you start,
Yes.
if YouTube is trying to get rid of the truth, why do they not take down all of the evidence, historical and archaeological, for the existence of Jesus?
They can't.
Because God
They can. They want
keeps his fingerprints everywhere.
Yeah, I understand that,
mate, Mutaz.
but
That was a better answer than I was going to say. That, mate.
This is an extension of God. What we're about to watch is an extension of God. It's God's marvelous creation. So this is also God's fingerprint right now.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to.
Yeah, it's okay. Look, I'm not arguing. I'm not, debating anything. Maybe I could be wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so could I. I think it'd be very you'd be very stupid to think you're right all the time.
No, that is absolutely impossible. You know what I'm saying? For a human being can be right all the time. It could be wrong. Adam, are you there?
Nah, he's gone off.
Okay. I'm gonna have to wait for him.
I'm coming back.
Yeah. I paused the video for you.
Cool. Yeah, let's go.
It was all recorded on these telemetry tapes. So where is this hard evidence?
I haven't seen anything that indicates the telemetry data is even in existence. And as I said, even if we had it, we don't have the machines to play it back.
But your own research has shown the telemetry data is missing.
That's right.
Could this be true? Mankind's first interplanetary exploration and the original science data is missing?
This is Houston, radio check, over.
If it's anywhere, it should be here at NASA's Goddard Space Center in Maryland, home to the National Space Science Data Archives.
This film you're making now, what is it? Does it have a name? I mean, do you have a name for it yet, or
you're calling it "Did We Go"?
Did we go? Okay.
Doesn't have it either. The Smithsonian doesn't have it. Johnson doesn't have it.
Right. We've been unable to track it down. I mean, we don't know where this telemetry data ended up, and we don't know what path it may have taken. So, unfortunately, I'm afraid I can't really give you much of a clue as to where this data ended up and whether it still exists or not.
NASA admitted that it had lost the original footage of man's first steps on the moon. My next guest, Aaron Rainin, started out believing the official version of history. Tell us why you have changed your mind and now become a skeptic.
I was the first to report, and you played the clip earlier tonight, that all the science data, the telemetry data, was missing. Now,
can we just pause this
for NASA to come out?
Sorry, I didn't want to. There's a guy that posted a comment in the new UG, and this actually, although he's clearly being like he's joking about, and it's not serious. It actually has quite a lot of meaning in this, because for atheists who are trying to come to the faith, I think this would deflect a lot of them. Like, if you was to say to them, like, the earth is flat, evolution's a lie, space is fake, the moon landed with stage on, like what this guy is saying, I think he's actually, without meaning it, he's got a good point here. That if there's people that are like logical thinkers, I'm not saying you're illogical, I'm like more evidence-based thinkers, where they take the majority of evidence, which definitely should not always be the case. But if we're for example, the one big thing for me was the historical evidence of the resurrection of Jesus. The evidence points in favor of the fact that Jesus rose from the dead rather than he didn't.
Amen.
But I think if we're telling atheists that all of this stuff is staged, I think we're going to draw people further away rather than closer. That's
but we're not. Yeah, we're not telling
No.
them. They're telling.
No. That this is, we're trying to win souls at the end of the day. So if we're trying to win souls for Jesus, surely we would, like Paul, for example, Paul in Corinthians, he says something along the lines of, when he's trying to talk to a Jew, when he's trying to evangelize to a Jew,
Speak things to all men. To the Jew, I'm a Jew. To the Greek, I'm a Greek.
Yeah. And I think if we was to do the same, that would be much more beneficial than saying that the Earth is flat. And
should we?
But my brother, does that mean that we have to change our our belief according to the modern science?
No,
or we should tell them the actual truth?
This is the thing. Modern science doesn't contradict the Bible if you see it in a way where it's not always.
It does. It does.
If you're seeing everything literally, in a literal sense, then maybe you could find like a way of saying that, okay, it could contradict, but we both know that not everything in the Bible is to be taken literally. So if we to take the Genesis,
so God created monkeys and he just let them to evolve, or he created man first and then the animals.
Hang on, a monkey's made in the image of God.
Okay, so basically, God is look like a monkey. Come on, man. And if that's true, why there's some monkeys in the zoo that they haven't evolved yet? Are they retarded, for example?
Sorry, that's like.
Come on, man.
That's by. I don't even know where to start with that. By saying that
you are created, you are a reflection of your creator.
Yeah, I understand that.
That's much more a higher status than actually being evolved from an ape. You are not an animal. You are not a speaking and intellectual animal. You are a human being, and you are the reflection of your creator. You are not a monkey or some kind of a, I'm saying, a lower human, and then you evolved to a human. That is wrong.
But humans are animals, though.
Really? If they are animals, then what does that mean? That you are a smarter animal?
We're an animal, but we're not just an animal. We're an animal that has a soul, and we have a greater meaning to Earth. I'm not just this is not going to the metaphysical. We're more talking physical here, and I'm talking in a physical sense where we are animals. Undeniably, we are animals, but we also have a soul that has more meaning than the atheistic viewpoint on life. But if we deny we're animals, then we're denying years and years of extensive research and study onto all of these scientific papers, all onto these very, very well-versed and knowledgeable humans, which are animals, and disregarding all of that research and coming to our own conclusion that we know more than them, even though they have got PhDs, they've studied their whole lives into these things. We're coming to the conclusion that, one, they're either completely wrong, which sometimes that happens, or two, that they are just deceived by the devil, which also can happen, but three, they are lying to us. Now, if we encase all three of them, that's where we go into heavy skepticism, and we live our lives looking at the TV, saying that the TV is not in front of us, even though it clearly is in front of us. That's where I think it.
Yeah, okay, that's a very, very good point, my brother. But I love you so much that I'm telling you that you are a reflection of your creator. You are not an evolved monkey.
And how about this? How about
wait. If we are evolved from monkeys, why there's still monkeys in the zoo? They haven't evolved yet.
What about if I say to you, I love you so much that we are created in the image of God, and he loves us so much that he gave us an extensive period of time to evolve to a better human state where we can understand him more, get to know him more through the means of science, so that when we get to this state, we are more knowledgeable as years and years go on, and that we understand him more and more and more in his perfect harmonious state that he is in. That is what I'd say to you. Both can exist in the same reality, but I think personally, I do not fall down the lines of skepticism because it gets very dangerous.
Is heaven allegorical for you?
No, heaven is definitely literal.
Is hell literal?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Do we need to? I mean, will we see monkeys and whatever monkey came from? You know, the single-celled amoeba. Will we see those in heaven because they responded to the gospel?
Because they're what?
Responded to because they accepted Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior through faith. Before he came, did they put the faith in the blood?
I don't know. Can you restructure that?
So if life, let's say a living conscious existence of a single-celled amoeba, and everything from there up until Jesus Christ existed, and we came from that, was heaven made for them? My great grandfather is not Adam according to you. It's a monkey which came from another like raccoon-looking thing, which came from something else. It was a fish. Do they all get to go to heaven?
I never.
Was there a certain point when God said, "Right, now you're human. Now I'm going to come down in the form of you because I made you in my image. Not all the other things, they weren't made in my image. You finally ascended to represent me, and now you can go to heaven." Where was that? Does that make sense?
I don't deny it. You said that you implied that I deny that our ancestors Adam. I agree that our ancestor is Adam and Eve, but I don't deny evolution. I situate this in where God gave us the consciousness. What was that? Sorry?
I said take your time with this one. I'm interested in this one.
I believe that God gave us the consciousness to perceive the world at a certain period of time, and from thenceforth he gave us the ability to be saved. It wasn't like a period where right at the start it was bang. When we was bacteria, we then had the capability of going to heaven because we did not have consciousness and we did not have the soul that was implanted in us. Whereas once we got to the stage where we had the soul and we had the ability to form a consciousness, that's when he gave us the ability to be saved.
Okay. You know, in reality, we have lots of single-celled creatures. Like we have loads of single cells that live by themselves. We don't see any dual-celled creatures. There's a massive jump up in number. So the single-celled creatures, yeah, and then we have creatures that are of multiple cells, hundreds, thousands, on the most basic level. Why is there a gap between the numbers?
Why is there a gap between the numbers of cells?
Wouldn't you have thought if we all
play the video and then continue because I'm
yeah, play the video, bro.
Yeah.
But
All right. I'm gonna mute my mic. Just give me a sec.
Say that all the tapes were erased. I mean, it's incredible. Geraldo, this isn't just one tape. This is rooms of tape labeled Apollo 11 moon landing. Someone had to physically go and erase it. And it just, I really, in my heart, Geraldo, I want us to go. And I know all your viewers want us to go.
We're also joined in LA by Bill Nye, the science guy. Bill, Aaron's right about erasing these tapes. I mean,
no, okay, it's my turn, kids.
Not Bill Nye, come on.
So what happened, these were NASA tapes, and I got lost. Stuff happens.
Okay. It's very challenging to try to prove we landed on the moon, and it shouldn't be challenging. The tape should be there. There should be plenty of evidence.
And Bill, you're the one guy on the panel who hasn't been punched by Buzz Aldrin. You say Buzz and his buddies really went.
I said, "Hey, Buzz, could you be on the show tonight?" He's like, "In the hospital, can't talk long." I asked him, "Did you walk on the moon?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, I have." So I'm going to trust Buzz.
Well,
I could trust you.
Well, I mean, let's say you trusted your television set, really, didn't you? That's how most of us believed it.
No, I got it from Buzz.
Yeah,
I got it from Buzz.
I mean, for instance, let's think about what you believe on TV. I'm actually nowhere near this bridge. I mean, Glenn, to me, it's incredible that we can keep track of Egyptian pots from 2,000 years ago, but we lose tapes made only 40 years ago.
Wait a minute. There is a very good explanation.
Well, I'm just an expert on the moon landing. And what I can say, and I know you have a tape there, is I tracked down Gene Kranz, who's the flight director of Apollo 11. He admitted to me the tapes are missing.
All right, go ahead. Play Gene Kranz, please.
I haven't seen anything that indicates the telemetry data is even in existence. And as I said, even if we had it, we don't have the machines to play it back.
But your own research has shown the telemetry data is missing.
That's right.
If NASA truly landed on the moon, remnants of the 6 successful Apollo missions would have been left behind. The base structures of the LEMs, the abandoned lunar rovers, even the American flags would still be standing at each landing site.
I would like to invite NASA and all of their supporters to simply take the most powerful telescope on Earth and see if there's a lunar lander there. If there's a lunar lander there, I'll never say another word about an Apollo hoax. If there's no lunar lander there, I'll rest my case.
Hang on, guys. I'm gonna show you something. Ready? just to add into this one. Can people tell me how this footage was taken?
Push. Engine arm is destined. Okay, I'm going to get the pro. 99, proceeded. 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Right away, Houston. Vector grid.
Who was recording that?
Ag side.
And how did we get the footage back? Was it Wi-Fi'd back to us?
Pitch over. Back here you have good thrust.
You say, was it Wi-Fi'd back to us?
So does anyone know what we just watched then? That was the moon landing, taking off from the moon and being recorded. Did we leave an astronaut behind?
No.
Did we have Wi-Fi and beam it back to NASA? And we can't, yeah. Did we? Yeah. Or did we have a phone call? Didn't they ring the president and talk to the president from the moon? And I struggled to get phone signal in 2024 when I'm up a hill and it's windy and rainy.
Interesting.
That's because you've not got you've not.
By the way, NASA means deceive.
NASA, yeah, we know it means deceive.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same way. It's the same way that I'm looking at you through the screen right now.
Explain.
But the way that I'm looking at you through the screen, and it's streamed through YouTube and on StreamYard, the same technology at obviously a lesser amount, but they would have had they'd have had to deal with like impact and all other things to do
You
with.
can switch sides and say I don't know. What you presented is made me think.
No, I wouldn't switch sides. I'd say that it's just common sense that it's the exact same as to what we've got nowadays, but at a lower rate.
Okay, so who filmed that?
A camera.
A camera filmed that?
Yes.
Okay.
What makes you say it's not a camera?
I believe it's a camera, but I don't believe the camera was on the moon. I think a cameraman was behind it, and it was in a studio in Hollywood where NASA is.
So what, from a scientific standpoint, what prevents that from being the case, that was a camera that was streaming from the moon at the time?
Stanley Kubrick moon landing conspiracy. Hang on. Have you seen Stanley Kubrick? All the photos of him with the NASA people? Do you know who Stanley Kubrick is? He's a very, very famous film director.
Well-known film director, yeah.
Have you? Doesn't he have that film Apollo 13? Is it Apollo 13 or Apollo?
Apollo 13.
It's a very good film. Apollo 13. I'm not a big film buff, but I've watched. I think I've watched that one. I may have just stood stuff on it. I think it's very interesting, that one. But I stopped believing in the moon landing when I was about 18. That one.
What the reason why I'd say that he's there is because he's clearly a space geek.
Stanley Kubrick is a space geek.
Well, if he's created a film based on space, then he must be a space geek.
No, but what I'm saying is when NASA was going to the moon, Stanley Kubrick was at NASA, and there's photos of him all the time with the NASA guys. And NASA has studios. It's not a secret.
Or what if he's helping with
he's helping with something.
Yeah, of course he's helping with something, but it doesn't mean that he's helping form the biggest delusion in the history of mankind. It could mean that he's helping with the adjustments of the camera, the adjustments of the camera.
Doesn't mean it's not, though, does it?
But it's more. This is the thing. It's more likely to come to the conclusion that that is not the case. That he is just causing a big disillusion within the human race.
This is logical. Emphasis on remotely controlled. I can get that one. Absolutely. Could they design a camera to go like that? Wouldn't it? It must have been a special camera to be in.
It was. It was a television camera that was compact and was able to withstand any impact on it and prevent any.
Why have we never been back to the moon since 1969?
The reason why, the reason why we've never been back to the moon was because the whole reason behind going to the moon was for the USA and the USSR to show their power and to show who is more likely to have more power, so on and so forth. So the reason why we have not been to the moon was because big old USA showed their guns and went to the moon first before the USSR. There's no meaning behind the moon. There's no gain with the moon. Whereas Mars, this is why we're looking into Mars, because we understand that Mars can habitate life. That's why we are on Mars, because we understand there's a meaning behind going to Mars. Whereas there's no what's the word? There's no flourishing. There's no flourish with going to the moon. So there's no need to show off the power again, the fact that we've gone there. Why would we go back there if we've shown to the Russians that we've got what we've got in the bag? There's no need for that.
I don't know.
Whereas Mars, we actually have an urge to explore Mars because there's something where we can gain from it. We can gain the fact that is habitable we've now recently understood that it's habitable. So the more we understand about Mars, the more likely it is that we can build a civilization on Mars. That's why.
Do you study space a lot?
Yeah, I studied astronomy, and I dabbled into astrophysics as well.
Where did you study? Well,
Oh,
how
no.
did you study astronomy?
Yeah,
I mean,
I used all the Oxford papers online. You can literally go online and find everything to do with quantum mechanics, mathematics. It's all online, on like PDF forms, videos. It's all online.
Should we put a pinpoint in this and say that we're not? Should we put a pinpoint in this and move the discussion forwards? But I really liked this conversation.
Yeah, that's fine.
Brilliant. Do you believe? I mean, this is not to us because we all believe that the stories in the Bible were true. Does anyone believe that Sodom and Gomorrah was fake?
Oh, definitely not. No.
Okay, I'm going to show this one because it destroys Islam.
Yeah, see, this is right. This is what I was alluding to earlier, because we have substantial evidence to support our claim. The fact that Sodom and Gomorrah was a literal event, because we have the archaeological evidence. So this is why I was alluding to why we should deny the fact that the Earth is flat and all the other theories that was given.
Well, I completely disagree with you. It's really easy to prove the Earth is flat, and we live on it.
Yeah.
I drove.
Oh, let me put a bit of sound on. This is this destroys Islam. I've just muted the site. Hang on a minute.
You know, you have to go past there to get to Kadesh. You have to go past there to get to the Red Sea crossing site. And
can we see it?
I did stop and show my workers.
Yeah, all good. You can see the screen.
This ash, because
yeah, all
the
good.
rope went right through the middle.
I think my computer's crashed. So if the stream stops, I will start it up again.
No, the stream's going. It's still saying live.
Bound to be
okay.
What's left of those cities, where the cities of the plains once enjoyed a beautiful and very prosperous existence. The place where Lot chose, rather than the mountains, to feed his flocks and herds and raise his family. And you'll notice here that we have several feet.
I think we are currently in the live on our own. I think that's what's happened. He's crashed.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, but the live is still up until he joins and ends.
I mean, Adam, he does have some issues with his Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I think he might have. I think he might have fell off the edge and realized that gravity is a thing. I think what I'm getting from this, I find more beauty. I actually find more beauty in evolution, in the theory of gravity, in the theory of like a spherical world. Well, no, it's not even a theory, but like the fact that the Earth is spherical and like there's multiple other galaxies. I think there's more beauty in that, and it shows more beauty in God than your position. But you might see that it's more beautiful in your position, and that we can both like agree to disagree in that sense, because
yes, I agree with you, but you know what I'm saying, like, I don't really care what I think or what I feel. It's just that this is the truth. You know what I'm saying? We can say all we want about that. There's a universe, there is a planets, Mars. That okay. That will be very interesting to think about, but we shouldn't live in fantasy and just imagine that there could be. You know what I'm saying? Look, we can trust theories if they are tested that can be true. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think
So, but yeah,
I think what I find interesting is whenever we understand and we try to defend the existence of God, we'll use things like the ontological argument, the fine-tuning argument, the Kalam cosmological argument, the moral argument. We use all of these things to defend the existence of God. Whereas if we was to use the existence of God from the Bible, it's perfect, right? We can use the Bible, we can use it. But if we use that alone, people that want to understand how there is a God, they are left alone. They can't understand God. They can't comprehend God, because the Bible is for us to understand who God is, and science is to understand God's language.
I agree. And also, God's language is numbers, math.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Maths blows, bro. Maths blows my mind. Like, mathematics is like it's I get in the same loop in my mind with consciousness and mathematics. When I try to understand consciousness, it fries my brain. When I try to understand maths and how perfect maths is, it's like, it fries my brain. And that's actually, funny enough, mathematics is a defense of God as well, maths. There's been many mathematicians that have come to God through maths. John Lennox, one of the most renowned defenders of the faith, he's a mathematician from Oxford University in London. Not London, he's Oxford University, and he came to the faith through mathematics, which is an extension of God. We understand God through science, through maths, and through history. That's how I perceive it, anyway. And I think
I don't think it's history, but I agree on the other two.
But how do you understand that Jesus rose from the dead without using the Bible?
I can use the evidence, and I came to it by doing contextual criticism. So I didn't trust the Bible to tell me that Jesus rose from the dead. I used information outside of the Bible that corresponded with it.
There we go.
So the Bible will be biased. You understand that the Bible will be biased towards the Bible. So you can prove the Bible stories by people outside of the Bible confirming the story as well. That's a more logical way and not a non-biased view.
Yeah, so we understand God through history, right?
Through history, through science,
through math.
Basically, exactly. Basically, even everything. For example, like, how do we know that God is triune? Well, let's look at his creation. For example, time is consisted of what? Past, present, future, correct?
Yeah.
Well,
water.
That's in debate, but yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Water is consisted of what?
Yeah. The
liquid, liquid, solid, and gas.
Oh,
exactly.
I thought you meant like as in the actual compound itself, but yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell me what else? Like the length, width, and
breadth.
What else?
Breadth.
Yeah. These three things are one as an object, because you can't have you can't build something unless you have three things: the X, Y, and Z, which is the length, the height, and the width. I think so. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
We have the X and Y axis. We have like it
No, not X, Y, but also X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a Go ahead.
It just depends on like what you are talking about in terms of its dimensions, like because not it just depends. But I know what you're getting at anyway. Sorry, I'm just trying to get too technical.
It's okay. I mean, you can give like any example. It would actually make sense that God is triune in his essence. So it's very easy to actually believe that. But here's the thing, though: the Muslims are going to say that the Trinity doesn't make sense, while it's in the Quran. It's written that God is actually triune. For example, Allah or God is the essence. And he has words, and he has a spirit, and these three are one.
100%.
Because
if the Muslim says that the Trinity is illogical, that is an argument from incredulity, meaning they hold the position that it's false, so they falsify the claim due to the fact that they don't have an understanding on it. This is like me saying I come to the conclusion that the color red is not in your room. What's your name? Sorry again.
Mutaz.
Mutaz. It's like me saying there's not the color red in your room that you are currently in now, because of the fact that I don't understand what is in your room. I can't draw that conclusion. I need to understand what is in that room first, then draw a conclusion. But that's what they always do. It's called the fallacy from incredulity.
Yeah, because if you actually look at the triunity of God from a universal perspective, for example, God must have a spirit. He must have words in order for him to create things, and he must have essence. So if you remove one of those three, that's not a God. You know what I'm saying? But and this is why in the Bible, those three are called Father, Son, Holy Spirit. You know what I'm saying? But in the universal understanding of what a God is that God must have essence, words, in order for him to create things from his speech, just like in the book of Genesis, when he created the heavens and the earth, he just spoke to it. You know what I'm saying? And he must have spirit. The Muslim are going to say, oh, no, wait, God doesn't have a spirit. Okay, can humans being create spirit? No, right? Can angels and demons create spirit?
No.
Then who is the one that created them?
God.
That's why, because he himself has a spirit, and he is self-sufficient. That's very logical to believe that God is a triune. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. It's
Adam, I want to show this dear brother a video. It's a very short video, like a short documentary about 30 minutes about the Earth is actually being flat.
Let's do 5 minutes of it, and then we can, because I've studied this for years. Let's just do 5 minutes and keep it moving.
Okay.
But yeah, go for it. Yeah, go
I'm
for it.
I'm gonna bounce now, but I'll be on another live or something sometime.
Yeah, bro, it's been an absolute pleasure. Remember, did you copy that link that I sent you about the discussion we had on veneration for 4 hours yesterday?
I don't. I'll find it in the chat.
Yeah, find it in the chat. I think that would be really good to look at. And we had a lot of your brothers up to chat with us, and we stuck with scripture, which was really cool on this one. And another thing is, as we are presented with different information, our minds can always change. And I keep on using this phrase: "Let God be true and every man a liar." So we don't need to defend our own opinions. We can attack them, and they should defend themselves if they are true. But bro, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. Viticus, do you want to type your YouTube channel in there? And I'll just say to my audience, Viticus has helped me a lot with some editing for some of the videos when we had the faces of people on there, and did me some logos. So Viticus is a friend. So I would really encourage you just to subscribe to his videos. I was actually on a live just before this one. So if you would follow Viticus, that would be brilliant. Yeah. So Viticus, do you want to stick your YouTube link up? Brilliant. And I will put that there. And it's in the chat. So guys, would you like and subscribe? If you follow me, I would like you to follow Viticus as well. And yeah, and just I don't know. Can we have clapping sounds? Or I'm new to this. I'm new to this. If you're in the chat on YouTube, can you send some love hearts up and some things? Yeah. And it's been an interesting conversation, this one. It was biblical archaeology was the title, and we have gone absolutely everywhere. I think this has been the most controversial video that we've done so far. And I think that people think that I just
Adam, the link is not actually showing on the public chat. So yeah.
His link is not.
Yeah.
Your video, okay. Is this the one you're talking about? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you want to play that for a few minutes, yeah, watch it for a few minutes, bro, because there's lots of ways we can test it with our own faculties that God has blessed us with.
I subbed to your channel.
Thanks, brother. Anyway, God bless you all. Jesus
God bless
is Lord.
You too.
Jesus is Lord. Christ is King. Yay!
Christ is King. Yeah.
Christ is King. Yeah. Okay,
All right.
Mutat, roll the tape, bro.
All right.
Skip in the little few seconds because you know that they always, you know.
All right. Yeah.
I was skipping a few minutes and anything.
You were born.
Remember this moment.
Hello, everyone. This is ODD, and yes, I'm finally admitting that even though I don't like labels, I'm a flat earther. Based on my research for the past 10 months, our world is very different from the model that we are being taught by the authority on the matter. It took me a while to come to terms with this, and it took even longer to gain the courage to talk about it.
Amen.
It can be pretty embarrassing to go against popular opinion, but this is real. It's not a psyop, it's not a distraction, and it's not a bandwagon. It's a reasonable debate. It's thousands of people taking what we've been told and comparing it to what we see and experience, only to find out that they do not match up. Once you start digging into this, it becomes clear that there is no evidence for the speculated spinning ball that we supposedly live on, and everything points to a flat Earth. The flat Earth is much more than just reasonable. The one and only reason that it's reasonable to argue against the flat Earth is that we've all been taught otherwise our whole lives. We blindly believe something that A, has never been proven, and B, is pretty much fucking impossible. Thanks to people like Eric Dubé, the flat Earth has re-emerged and it has more steam than ever. Before I've ever even entertained the flat Earth, I knew not to trust the space programs of the world. Close examinations of NASA and other space programs reveal that things aren't what they seem and that we, the people, are being lied to. We have no real pictures of the Earth, and no matter how hard we try, we just can't find the curvature. Not only that, but flight paths make more sense on a flat map, and large bodies of water not being able to curve into a giant ball completely resonates.
Forensically speaking, the globe model is so very unlikely that any good detective wouldn't believe a fucking word the globe says. The globe story is so full of circumstantial, impossible coincidences, which only prove that the globe is a fucking liar.
We'll be going over that in this video, as well as other reasons why the world isn't what we're led to believe. I appreciate you tuning in. Let's get started. Our daily observations of the Earth are consistent with a flat and stationary surface. Most, if not all, ancient civilizations knew that the Earth was flat. The people of today would say that ancient cultures were ignorant and unaware, yet they accomplished great feats that we still can't accomplish to this day. The truth is that they had real knowledge, and some of us only have an education. But what is an education? Education is when you are told what to think and how to think. Those that are able to remember and regurgitate what they've been told on command are considered well educated. But there is a big difference between being educated and being intelligent. Just because you believe what you've been told doesn't make it true. In fact, the flat versus spherical Earth is a debate that has never really died. It's been raging for centuries. It was a huge argument as recently as the early and mid-1900s, but with programs like NASA, founded in 1958, the latter half of the 20th century was a win for the spherical Earth. It wasn't a question for the average person anymore. Though at the time the shape of the Earth was still up to be proven, NASA claims that they went to the moon and captured a shot of the spherical Earth as if they always knew it was indeed spherical.
Those of you who think this technical difficulty was planned and think I'm scamming you, go do it for yourself. Because you're going to find the exact same thing. I got nothing to hide here. This is live on the air, okay? I'm going to zoom in on the Earth in Photoshop. You see the Earth? To image, adjust, levels. And I'm going to bring the levels over here. And I'm going to bring the levels up. Uh-oh. What is that?
Do you see that? Adam?
Yeah, I can see that, bro.
Do you see that?
Photoshop.
And you have people believing what everything that NASA says. Yeah. Think about that. Let's continue.
Why is there a square box around the Earth allegedly taken from the scientists on the moon in Apollo 17? And people wonder why I don't trust NASA. That's why I don't trust NASA. I mean, they're always out there saying, you know, Rob, everybody's trying to show you stuff from space, and you keep rejecting it. This is why I reject it. These guys are liars. You know.
What are some of the basic observations someone can make to ascertain that the Earth is neither a globe or spinning?
We've been taught that we're on a ball spinning around the sun, and so to hear that you might be on a flat plane, motionless at the center of the universe with all the celestial bodies spinning around you, just as it appears, actually comes as a surprise. But it shouldn't, because our eyes, experience, and common sense all tell us that the horizon is perfectly flat, and we feel motionless. We don't hear ourselves whizzing by at thousands of miles per hour. No matter how high amateur rockets or balloons have gone up, the horizon rises to the eye of the observer all the way up, and that's only consistent with a flat plane. Their theory just gets more and more wild as time has gone on, and so yeah, it began with the spinning Earth going 1,000 miles per hour, which is then circling around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour, which then they decided the sun wasn't a heliocentric model, but more of an acentric model, where they don't know where the center is, and we're just exploding out of a Big Bang. So the sun, we're spinning around the sun, and then the sun and us are spinning around the Milky Way galaxy, they say, at 500,000 miles per hour. And then the entire Milky Way galaxy, they say, is shooting off from the Big Bang at 670 million miles per hour, almost the speed of light. So there's at least 4 rip-raging, contradictory motions supposedly going at all times, yet you don't experience any of it, nor can you measure any of it using the stars. The flat motionless Earth is not only is it the greatest conspiracy of all, it's also the easiest to prove. I mean, it just is flat and motionless, just as it appears. Look into it more and more, make it a thing to try and debunk it, if you will. You know, even if you want to do it that way. Negative reinforcement works too. Try as you will, you're only going to find proofs for the flat motionless Earth. You're not going to confirm that you're on a spinning ball.
The curvature of the Earth eludes us. Either the Earth is much larger in circumference than we are told, or the curve just doesn't exist. People assume that there is a curve, but it's never really been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Cameras with fisheye lenses, Hollywood movies, and NASA CGI are the closest we get to seeing curvature.
the deception and the lies are just so pervasive, and they're just so deep. I swear, it gives me a headache.
The surface of water is always level. This is just natural physics. We know this, that water, if unobstructed and uncontained, will flow outwards, finding it the easiest course to maintain its own level, right? So, but the Ball Earth model claims that the oceans are huge 100-mile walls of curved water curving around the ball. That's ridiculous. They say that gravity makes this possible, but you don't see that. You go to the beach and you see completely flat horizon. You see water just ever so gently coming up on the shore.
So there's the pretty blue marble that NASA claims we are living on, with circumference of 24,901 and 3959 radius. So to find the curvature, you take 8 inches times your distance squared. That's 8 inches times your distance squared, and if you don't square the distance, you end up with this, and this is not what NASA has shown us. They have given us a beautiful blue marble that we love. So you get 8 inches for 1 mile, 32 inches in 2 miles, 16.6 feet with 5 miles, so on and so forth. So what I did is I shot this pier, which is in Daytona Beach, Florida. And as you can see, between the water and the walkway of the pier is about 12 to 16 feet based on the height of the people and the railing. So I started at Granada, which is 4.92 miles away, and I shot this. And based on that distance and the formula, there should be 16 feet of curvature. But obviously, you can still see the entire gap under the walkway there between that and the water. So in addition to that, behind that pier is actually a lighthouse, which you can see right above the pier. You can see the light. That is 16 miles away from my location. And I shot that lighthouse. Now that lighthouse is 175 feet tall, and the curvature from 16 miles away should be 170 feet. You can clearly see about the entire lighthouse beyond that pier. So like I said, there should be 170 feet of curvature, but there's none. And those hotels there are even further. Those are in New Smyrna, which is 20 miles. If NASA is right, and we do live on a ball, they're going to have to make up that curvature. If it's not in the 20 miles I'm shooting, well, then that means it's got to be made up further on down the line. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say we live on this ball and then say, oh, you can't detect the curvature. Well, you got to detect it somewhere, because if it's not dropping here, it's going to have to drop even more down the lines in order to make that circle, that ball they say we live on. And it's pretty round. That blue marble they give us is perfectly round.
Lighthouses are one great example. The Isle of Wight Lighthouse in England, it's 180 feet high and can be seen up to 42 miles away, a distance at which modern astronomers say the light should fall 996 feet below the line of sight. Why can you still see it? Another one worth mentioning that people be familiar with is the Statue of Liberty. It stands 326 feet above sea level, and on a clear day can be seen as far as 60 miles away. Now, if the Earth was a globe at the dimensions that they give us, that would put Lady Liberty at an impossible 2,074 feet below the horizon.
No, not one picture of the Earth. Imagine that. 2016, and we still don't have a picture of our home. Thousands of satellites supposedly orbiting the Earth. Why can't we get thousands of pictures? One shot with the whole...
Do you see that? There is no real picture of the Earth that is actually being sphere. Everything here is just made up. CGI, green screen, all this. Yet they had the audacity to call us that we are fools. But it is written in the Bible that the Earth is flat and it's a circle, and there is a firmament. and above the firmament is waters. Even there's a movie that shows that there's like a somewhat glass above us. So that's all I have to say. Let's continue.
Whole Earth in it. Hell, we should have a channel on cable that shows the Earth rotating 24 hours a day, every day. Nope. Let's listen to NASA's very own Robert Simmons talk about how we get our fake pictures of Earth.
In 1972, we saw our home in a new way. Apollo 17 astronauts snapped this picture.
It gave people the first look at their home planet as a single entity.
Last week, scientists at NASA released this. The shot is compiled from data from NASA's VEERS instrument, which orbits the Earth about every 100 minutes, taking measurements of light coming off the planet. That can be translated into ribbons of imagery like this, and then into one of these. And this is just the latest in NASA's Earth from Space album, which may be one of the most mind-expanding collections of images in human history. Then in 2002, Blue Marble 2.0, NASA's Rob Simmons made this. Simmons' job is...
It's primarily taking data and making pictures out of it.
That's what this is, a composite of data sets from several different instruments translated into a picture.
So we actually had to take clouds out.
They stashed the clouds for later, went onto the ocean. That came from an instrument that measures phytoplankton in the sea.
Where it was low, I colored it dark blue because they're low mostly in mid-oceans. And then where it's a little bit higher, it was like a little bit brighter green.
Then add the clouds back in.
There's a small problem with it because there's a very slight gap in between each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Then
there was another layer to sort of simulate the atmosphere.
And then there's this little bright spot.
It's called the specular highlight. So it's the reflection of sunlight off of water.
Those are the pieces, but you can't just slap them all together.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat, or the clouds are sort of too see-through. So I just hit Command-Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
What I imagine it to be. Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut. I've never been to space. But I've looked at these images over and over again, trying to sort of get the essence of it. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Excuse me, I'm allergic to bullshit. Not having one authentic picture of the Earth alone is a huge red flag.
Christoph, let me ask you, why do you think that Truman has never come close to discovering the true nature of his world until now?
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
The flat Earth model is a working model. It's by no means definitive due to the nature of this massive cover-up. For the past 500 years, we've been completely buying into the Copernicus heliocentric model. But what we do know about the flat Earth is based on the azimuthal equidistant map that seems to be working out. This map goes as far back as the year 1000 and possibly earlier, now used as an official map by the U.S. Geological Survey and also as the official logo for the United Nations. Is this our real home being hidden from us in plain sight? I think.
Do you see that, guys? The people in the chat, do you see that? This is the United Nations. Okay? Look at the logo they have. They knew the truth, but they give you the lie. Think about that. You know what I'm saying? So this is why you have to have a discernment in everything. All right, I'm gonna have to continue.
I think it is. The first thing a lot of people say is, where's the edge? Well, look at this map where Antarctica is a 360-degree ice barrier that holds the water in. These ice walls are real, and they stand 150 feet above the surface of the water. Then you need to understand that there is no independent access to Antarctica. Average people can only go there on a guided tour. It has no towns, no cities, and no permanent residences. What's past the 150-foot ice wall is anyone's guess. How far the ice extends, how it terminates, and what exists beyond it. The Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959 by 12 nations and more later on, states that Antarctica is for peaceful purposes only. No military activities, just scientific research and government exploration. Expeditions by any party must be discussed in advance. It's the longest and most successful treaty between nations. The treaty also states that there are ships, stations, and equipment to ensure compliance of the treaty. Sounds like military activity to me. Anyway, so this azimuthal equidistant map appears to be correct for the most part. Over the centuries, there's been other maps that look pretty close to it as well. Let's look at an interesting story that was recently in the news that supports this flat map. A woman gave birth on a flight from Bali to Los Angeles, so the flight made an emergency landing in Alaska. Here's what it would look like on a globe. Now, here's what it would look like on a flat Earth. Which one makes more sense? Exactly. A big issue I was having with the flat Earth for the longest time was the sunrise and sunsets. I realized that it was a perspective issue. First, you must understand that the sun is not 93 million miles away. If it was, we would never see anything like this here. This is concentrated because it's closer. It's much more probable that the sun is only a few thousand miles away and that it's the same size as the moon. Once you comprehend this, all of the sudden, solar eclipses make sense. Holy fucking shit! Something that makes sense! Okay, so the sun is close, which gives it the ability to spotlight the area that it's over, and when it leaves your view, due to perspective, it takes the light with it. There is a generous amount of light where the sun is at, but since it's so close, it doesn't spread its light like it would if it were bigger and further. The sun circumnavigates the Earth like a huge clockwork. Sometimes that takes a while to sink in. All right, let's talk about the Coriolis effect. The Coriolis effect states that when a moving object leaves the ground, the Earth continues to rotate, meaning that when shooting a gun at a certain distance, the bullet would be a little off due to the Earth's rotation. If that's the case, then airplanes would have to account for the Coriolis effect, but they don't. This is only a few things that work better on a flat, motionless Earth. Do you need 100 excuses as to why you're not feeling any motion or seeing any curvature? Are those excuses easier to believe? Or is it easier to use Occam's razor and go with what our senses are telling us? The Earth is flat and not spinning.
Now, real quick, let's kind of just explain the Coriolis effect in layman's terms. The Coriolis effect is the effect that when the bullet leaves the barrel of the gun, it is actually leaving the surface of the Earth. So as the bullet leaves the barrel of the gun, the Earth is still rotating, and the bullet is not rotating with the Earth. So the Earth will actually rotate out from underneath of the bullet while it is in flight.
This one is a touchy subject. This whole fucking video is a touchy subject. So anyway, this one's hard to get across to people big time. But outer space is up for debate. Space programs are compartmentalized, and most astronauts are Freemasons that have to swear an oath of secrecy when dealing with the so-called missions. The thing is that there is so much footage of NASA and other space agencies making mistakes. Sometimes we could see bubbles in the spacewalks. Sometimes we could see harnesses and wires on the people in the International Space Station. The permed hair that moves nothing like it would in zero gravity. These are huge red flags, not to mention the Van Allen radiation belt. The Van Allen radiation belt is a layer of energetic charged particles that is in place around a magnetized planet such as Earth by the planet's magnetic field. Sounds kind of like a dome if there is one. Oddly enough, one of NASA's employees admitted that this radiation belt needs to be figured out before humans could pass through it. Listen closely.
As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. Radiation like this could harm the guidance systems, onboard computers, or other electronics on Orion. Naturally, we have to pass through this danger zone twice, once up and once back. But Orion has protection. Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation. Sensors aboard will record radiation levels for scientists to study. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
Let's talk about satellites. We've already discussed how there are no pictures of the Earth. So are satellites even real? Not likely. Ground towers are built all over the world and are more than adequate to relay our television, radio, and cell phone service.
All GPS is done through land-based towers, and things like Google Earth are taken with high-altitude planes, and most of them are just done with cars on street level. Did you know that satellites were actually invented by Arthur C. Clarke, the science fiction author?
I didn't know that.
they shortly became science fact after that. The geostationary satellite, look it up. It was created by a science fiction author. And then within a decade, NASA claims to have sent a real one up there. And ever since then, that's where we get all our communications from.
So satellite.
Science fiction. Do you see that? Do you see that, Adam?
I do.
They try to tell us that our Bibles are wrong. Why they get their fake stories from science fiction. Think about that.
Yeah, the movies, mate. Crazy, isn't it? Do you know that the governments have budgets for influencing movies and creating movies? That's actually in government budgets.
Yeah, of course. Even the vaccines, by the way. For example, the pharmaceuticals are actually controlled by the elites. That's why they created the virus in order to make money.
Guard what words you use, and use different words. Use different words when you say certain things because of how the platform that we're on scans what the videos that we put out. Just change the V word. Yeah. Just change the word.
Okay, well, the P are controlled by somebody unknown.
Oh no, you can be more that. It's just the V word. Just use jibber jab.
Jibber jab. Okay, that's a very funny name, but okay, no problem. You know, someone like for example, they have to create some problems in order to sell the solution. Do you feel me?
Yeah, of course they do. Of course they do. Yeah.
So
I mean, we've been lied to so much. I think the thing that makes me laugh is that if we're having this conversation in 20 years, the people that will be arguing with us will be arguing that there are 52 genders because science tells us they are. So, I mean, science lies. We know it lies. It constantly evolves science, but God's word doesn't evolve. He is the same today as he is yesterday, and we're encouraging people to test it. I think is beautiful. and let God be
And
true.
this
And
is
yeah,
exactly, amen, amen. And this is exactly how they want the Antichrist to come, to create a one world religion, one world government, and one world leader, political, spiritual leader, is to make all the nations fight each other until there is so much destruction that the Antichrist will come and rule over them. But
nation
he
shall
will
rise against nation.
exactly. So Satan will masquerade just
an
like God did
Mhm.
to manifest a son. That's the unholy trinity. You have Satan, the Antichrist, and the false prophet. Now we don't know who is that false prophet is.
No,
Pope Francis? I don't know.
that's where I would
I don't
throw
know.
my. That's where I would throw
I
my
don't
hat.
know. I don't know. I'll just pretend that I don't know anything and that I am very ignorant, and just keep an open eye and open mind.
I don't believe we're going to be here though for it. Do you believe in pre-trib?
Yeah. Do you mean the rapture?
Yeah.
Well, the rapture seems biblical because there's a verse about it. But the problem with this doctrine is that it was created about 200 years, but it is not created way back. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'm very skeptical about it. But if
Yeah.
there is, cool, no problem. That's awesome. If it's not, no problem. Okay, then we have to go through the suffering and the
Yeah, Christ is king, man.
prosecution.
Yeah,
Yeah,
persecution.
exactly.
There's a crown for
Yeah,
martyrs as well, so the end might justify
exactly.
the means if we go out with a bang of glory. I think that as men, that's what we've got to be. We've just got a quick question. Did Noah save millions of species and insects before the earth was flooded? I think, Steve C., if you were in our conversation earlier, Noah saved 2 of every kind and 7 of the clean. So let's just say 2 of every kind. Did Noah take a chihuahua, a poodle, an Alsatian, a wolf, or did he take 2 dogs? So that those millions that you've been talking about, they kind of end up not being that many, does it? So they'd have to have a very big boat, but he might have taken 2 butterflies, 2 chameleons, and then they have speciated, they have changed as how we can breed animals today, and very, very quickly. So I think that's a bit of a straw man argument there, John Mark. But what I think would be great if should we move on? I love this subject, by the way, mate. Should we move on to Noah's Ark? Do you want to do Noah's Ark?
Absolutely. But we have to finish this video because we are almost done.
Okay, let's roll. Let's roll, bro. I'm running out of biblical flat earth verses, but if anyone's been reading below,
real.
God says that it's flat.
We would constantly hear stories of them being hit by meteors or comets, and that doesn't happen. No one's ever lost their direct TV feed during the Perseids meteor shower because one of the meteors knocked out one of the satellites. It doesn't happen, it's never happened, and it won't happen. And that to me tells me there is no satellites. You would constantly be worried about them, and you would constantly hear about them having something happen. And it's so rare that you hear that.
So you may or may not have heard the term cognitive dissonance.
Yes.
No. You carry on talking. I'm going to do a poll in the YouTube chat. You carry on talking, mate. You go for 5.
Cognitive dissonance is when new information challenges your beliefs and you just can't let go. It's just like that scene in The Matrix.
No. I don't believe it. It's not possible. Stop. Let me out! Let me out! I want out!
We have a rule. We never free a mind once it's reached a certain age.
It's not easy going through this kind of deception and then realizing that your whole life was spent thinking and believing one thing when it's the opposite. Nobody wants to feel like they've been fooled, like they've been had. I'm a human just like you, and I never would have thought in my wildest dreams that I'd be on this kind of journey. This journey of realization and reckoning. This journey of putting everything I know to the side so I can absorb information that seems ridiculous, yet so sensible. It's time to say fuck it. It's not your fault that you were wrong. It's not your fault that you fell for a trick that the whole world also fell for. I'm right here with you. It's time to take down your mental barrier and recognize that we have a lot of work to do in order to find out what this place really is and why we're here. It's not to be slaves of the dollar. It's not to be slaves of the clock. Our reality is being manipulated and hidden from us. Please wake up and try to awaken those around you. So how did this happen? Okay, let's start in the classroom. The first time anybody enters a school classroom, they are introduced to the globe model of the Earth. This three-dimensional scale model of the Earth that has never been proven was invented in the 1400s. Fast forward to 1927, a big-budget movie company called Universal Pictures came out with this movie intro, and guess what? The spinning ball Earth still hasn't been proven. This is 30 years before NASA was founded. Over the years, Universal kept coming out with similar logo intros, and to this day, we see the spinning ball Earth before many of the movies that we watch. Besides, there are countless movies about outer space that use the same model. We have been indoctrinated, and it's as simple as that. For the spherical Earth to remain unproven after this long is a wake-up call to everybody that lives here. We need to shed this programming right here, right now, and find out what the fuck is going on. No more embracing this sick illusion that was created by psychopaths. I'm going to keep searching for answers and trying to make something happen. All I want to know is, who's coming with me?
Let God be true and every man a liar.
We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
I like to be an explorer, like the Great Magellan.
Oh, you're too late. There's really nothing left to explore.
These kind of look like my videos, don't they? With all the memes in.
Yep.
Right before your surgery, I asked if you had packed your cell phone, and you said, which one?
Yeah, just pause that one. That made me howl, that one.
Took 5 photos. Went to the moon. Went to the bathroom. Took 192 photos. Makes sense. Yep. That's very logical.
Now they've deleted it as well, haven't they? Carry on.
Oh,
I'm loving this.
Right before your surgery, I asked if you had packed your cell phone, and you said, which one?
When? Skylar, I was medicated. I mean, I could have said the world was flat.
You know what I think?
Wait a second. This is in
all the
the...
way through the movies. It's all the way through the movies, mate. I've been awake to the flat Earth of, wow, I can't remember, 25, 12 years now.
The world was flat.
You know what I think? You accidentally told the truth.
The world was flat.
You know what I think?
What? They even put this here? In the
It's all
Breaking
over.
Bad?
Yeah, it's all over, but this is subjective, but it does make you think, doesn't it?
Warning, your belief in the Earth curvature doesn't make it real. Wow.
I think another thing is what we have perspective because of the shape of our eyes. So we have a, because they're round, that's how we get depth, or we'd see in 2D. And have you seen when cameras zoom in everything comes back into focus. I mean, the Earth is flat. It's so easy to work out. It takes you half an hour going outside and looking up at the stars to kind of go, oh, they're all roughly the same size. What a coincidence.
Really, the evidence shows me that it's flat and stationary. There's much more evidence based on just pure analysis that it's flat and stationary.
So it's not actually a sphere.
Guys, put up your funniest comments. I'm going to put them out underneath. Put up your funniest comments. I'm going to put them out underneath. Go on, roll.
Gold blade spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator.
A little chubbier.
A little chubbier. Yeah, chubby's a good word. It's like pear-shaped.
According to science, the Earth isn't a ball. You know that. But then they'll show you pictures of a perfect ball. So according to science, it's not. That's not what it is. But the pictures show that it is. But you don't know that. But that's what they say. So anyway, thank you, Neil.
Really, we're in big trouble as far as lack of critical thinking and lack of free thinking. We really are in big trouble. We need to step it up as far as the awakening goes. You really need to put your thinking cap on. You really need to start to look at these things and look at them with a critical eye and with a critical mind.
It's all fake. Yep, we're done here. That's it.
That is amazing. I love that.
Now, this video, which is very interesting, it's not even founded in YouTube, by the way. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know, yeah. But the Earth isn't shaped like a sphere. That's not what scientists actually say. They say it slightly bulges at the equator. So
Choppy.
Yeah. So the photos they show you of a spherical Earth are going against what science is telling you. And when people talk about you know, the Earth is spinning, do we feel it more when we stand at the equator? Is that why life runs faster when you're at the equator? Do you feel it more? Do you feel that breeze through your hair? Because when I walk, I can feel the breeze through my hair. When I get on the bike, I can feel breeze through my hair. But apparently, we can't feel the Earth spinning at 24,000 miles an hour because of a theory. It's
Exactly.
interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. It certainly makes you think, doesn't it? It certainly makes you think.
That
I think because go on, 2 seconds. I think if anyone has just popped in, if you go back in here and you look at all the verses, the flat Earth verses I was throwing up, the Bible does point at the Earth being flat. It doesn't point to the Earth being a sphere at all.
Not just that, Adam.
Maybe God's wrong. Maybe God is wrong. Maybe His word is fallible. Yeah. Well, you see, we're deluded, aren't we? Everything came from a big bang from nothing, and we're flying around on a pear through space.
By the way, it's not just the Bible, Adam. It's also the Quran, all the ancient religions.
Every religion's been wrong. Every native people have been wrong, apart from modern scientists.
Yeah. And they are the only people that got everything right. And God, kind of made a mistake.
Do you get a qualification that says that you're infallible when you make science, or can we do science at home? Can we test things at home?
Yeah, it should be.
Muta, if you were to test something, say everyone's listening to our voices through the computer right now, how would you test it? I mean, personally, I would say when you go outside in the morning, when you look at the sun, it's smaller. And then in the middle of the day, it gets bigger. And then it gets smaller at night time. How is that possible?
Yeah, if you have a very expensive camera, you can try to look at the moon, and you can see it like the moon is being like in front of the moon. There's like somewhat a water moving it.
Yeah.
So that proves that, you know what I'm saying? Because if there is no water, then the sun will hit us with its heat. But because we are covered by the water, that's why we do not get the heat.
The water's
You know
above
what I'm
and the
saying?
water's below. Yeah, it's interesting.
Exactly. So yeah, if you have an expensive camera, you can actually see that there is a somewhat of a water actually moving. So that's all I have to say.
Have you seen this one before, Amutaz? Because God says they're lights, he doesn't mention that they're physical. Now, if you look at the moon, you know when the moon goes into a crescent shape, say there's 20% of the moon, you can see stars go through a solid moon. Isn't that unusual? So if the moon is solid like this, yeah, it's solid.
Mhm.
It's a solid thing according to science, and we can land on it. And then it becomes like a little quarter like this. It's very unusual how we see a star, and then we can see a star here, and then it doesn't disappear. We can see it in this bit, which should be solid. So it's interesting that one. Maybe it's an optical illusion, but I can see stars go through the moon, through the bit that's solid, that's not lit up. It's very interesting that, or the fact that when we look at the moon, it takes on the same color as the background of the sky. It's not a solid blocked out black, almost as if the moon wasn't solid.
As if it's somewhat of a kind of a, it's like a circle of a flashlight. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. But I've often seen stars go through the solid moon, the bit that's not lit up, that should be solid. I think that's one that made me scratch my head. I mean, people can look at that tonight if they want. If it's not a full moon, they could have a look at that one tonight, and maybe tomorrow morning when they wake up and they see the sun or the moon being small, and then it's getting bigger. That's interesting. That one. Maybe it's just perspective. Maybe we're stupid. Maybe we need to
Yeah,
go to. Maybe we need to go to Specsavers. But
yeah.
it's interesting.
But by the way, there's going to be a solar eclipse in the
America.
April 8th.
April the 8th, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, a lot of people are trying to see this as somewhat of a prophecy, but I don't know.
Have you heard of? I mean, it was a few years ago when all the red, they're called strawberry moons, or when the red moons were falling on Jewish holy days. Were you aware of that? Were you following that fulfillment of prophecy? So 7 red moons happened on the earth, and all of them fell on Jewish holy days.
No, no. I'm very late for these things. But what I do know is that 7 years before, I believe, there was also another solar eclipse. But I watched a video of a lady that talks about this topic. Is that when these things happen, she said that this is how basically the civil war started in the United States when there was a solar eclipse. So I don't know, maybe judgment could be upon United States, because I have a feeling, I could be wrong. Maybe I wish that God talked about mystery Babylon.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I believe it is it as well. And judgment starts at the house of the Lord.
Now,
Yeah.
I have a question, but I don't know. Is mystery Babylon United States or the Roman, the RCC? Because the RCC is the wounded beast that his. Wait a second. Because I know from the biblical perspective, and I could be wrong, is the wounded beast that has been healed? Is it the RCC, is it this the Mystery Babylon or the United States?
I think it's the United States because it describes its ports, having ports on it and things like that. I've heard the argument, but I really strongly hang my hat on it being the United States.
Interesting.
Yeah, I hang my hat on that one, but I've heard both perspectives, and I think that you can put it to both, but it better suits United States, which is
That's
interesting.
very,
But
very scary.
we are connected to them as well, Ephraim and Manasseh. So I'm in England. I'm just going. Oh, it might all go a bit Pete Tong, a bit wrong soon, but God is good. So guys, does anyone? Why is it that places super north like Norway, the sun stays up for months at a time? Has anyone ever seen the? Oh, should we just show the biblical flat Earth model? I can probably pull that one up. Let me do this.
Oh yeah.
I'll find it. Yeah. Let's show people what the Bible describes.
By the way, if you also add the book of Enoch, it will show you like there's even 10 heavens, but I don't know if it's true because the book of Enoch is.
I believe 7 heavens, but it's not a fully inspired book. But I know that there's more. So I believe the 7 heavens. I do look at Enoch, but I know that it is not a. It's not a perfect. It's not a bad book. It's so hard to find flat Earth stuff, isn't it, on YouTube? You have to really scroll down.
You can never find even those videos that I showed them. They can't be found on YouTube.
Yeah, it's so
very
hidden,
interesting.
It's so hidden. I've got because I know when I have to look for certain videos. There is one video that shows. Let me see if this one does it. There is. This one looks close enough. There is one video that shows 200. 200
I think it does make sense. Yeah. I think it does make sense that there are 7 heavens because God's number, God's favorite number is 7, so maybe that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I think it is 7. Let me just. I think this is a very poor example of the flat Earth and what we believe is interesting. Have you ever heard about them booking flights and why we travel in certain directions? And why flight paths are so peculiar, as if they're actually going along. Speaking to pilots is very interesting. Have you spoken to pilots or had that? I've been on a flight plane and I've asked him a question. He didn't say anything. He just nodded. He went. Because
yeah. Most of them say that the Earth looks kind of flat.
Yeah.
That's what they always say.
You have to talk to them one-on-one. I think. But I can't remember where I was flying. I think it was a man. It was a stopover in Amman or a change in Amman. And I remember speaking to someone on the Emirates and I said, "What question?" And he went, and that was it. It was like, and I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. And I looked out the window. I was going, and when that guy said that he'd done a parachute jump or something like that, and it was a high altitude flight, and he saw the curvature, I was like, well, I've been up in lots of planes and I've not seen it. But if that makes you feel comfortable and you that's a hill you're willing to die on, you're more than welcome to throw yourself at that. But it is a lot to take in. I think the conversation that we're having is something that people can look into. They can look into what the Word of God says if they believe the Word of God, and they can look if the Word of God is true, then it should reflect it in the reality. And as we said, we've mentioned some ways to test it tonight. So you can kind of have a look. There's so many ways to test it. It's not hard to go use your hands. Have you heard that the moon gives out a cold light, and that in the shadow of the moonlight, it's actually warmer?
Exactly. Yeah.
So if you go outside and there's a full moon, which is reflecting the sun's light, which is warm, in the light of the moon, it's colder. But in the shadow of the moon, if you go behind a wall where the moonlight is not going, it's warmer, and you can feel it with the palm of your hands. If you put your palms out, you can feel temperature change. So it doesn't need a lot of expensive equipment. You can use your hands for free, and they test hot things. When you put yourself in a cold service or a warm service, you can tell slight changes in temperature, and that's more than enough to do. And that's something you can do when you're walking around. It's not just a one-off thing. Your hands will always be at the end of your arms. I think that's a very interesting one. Yeah. So see if this video actually, I think it's just going to be a crappy version of that. But that's a rough idea. That's the firmament of God. That's the map, the United Nations map. That's the ice wall. Is it the ice wall in Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones? And they always allude to the ice wall. And it's interesting. It is very interesting.
I actually never watched it, by the way, but the movie, yeah, I think I should, but I don't know. I could be mistaken, but I think I watched a documentary that back in the World War II, that Hitler was trying to go to the ice wall, and they found there's like a gateway under the ice wall that they could actually go in, because there's like a somewhat of a different kind of earth that has been undiscovered. I don't know. Maybe it could be just a
I think it's
theory.
A psyops. Yeah, I think it's a psyops inside the flat Earth, because I've studied it for 4 years.
Exactly, because because they always tell us that there is no such thing as demons. There's such thing, or there could be aliens, which is probably another distraction.
Yeah, I mean,
from demons.
My testimony isn't that public since I've had all my viewers. But if you go through my videos, you'll see me talking about my experience and how I knew that there was a God. So yeah, I've seen an orb. Put it that way, I've seen a demon. That's how 6 months later I became Christian. So I had a bit of a spiritual awakening to the reality of God, good and evil, and that's how I became Christian, by testing the Bible and testing the Quran and all the other holy books. Sorry, that word came out of my mouth. All the other books, due to having experience with an alien demon. So it's interesting. Oh, Mutar. Yeah, I can see it. Let me hang on. This is the Earth according to the Bible. Can we make that bigger? Do you want to make that bigger, mate? Full screen it.
Yeah.
Do you want to go through that? Yeah, that's what the Bible says.
Now, you can see the verses, by the way. This is basically a video by a pastor. I don't know his name, to be honest with you, but he is very much aware.
Yeah. Do you want to put that link in the chat, please, as well? If you're Christian, I want to watch this.
Okay, it's the second link on the private chat. So hold on a second.
I'll do it. You do the thingy. I'll do the link. Yeah. So guys, this is the link for that one.
And then under that, you have the great deep, the waters of the great deep that broke up and came up and helped to flood the earth in the days of Noah. Now, Dr. Michael Heiser, PhD in theology, one of the founders of Logos Bible Software, taught this is what Moses and Joshua and all of the Old Testament people and saints and prophets believed. Now, you're either going to say that we have figured out things better than Moses, who was up on the mountain with God for 40 days. And when he came down, his face was glowing and scared everybody to death. Or we're going to believe a bunch of people that have big, fancy degrees, but only a bunch of theories.
Ooh.
But Pastor Dean, I've seen pictures from space. Have you?
Tell him.
Why does the guy who did the blue marble picture that was on your Apple iPhone when it came out, why did he admit publicly that it's photoshopped? He said it's photoshopped because it has to be. There's pictures from NASA that I'm not showing it. I can't show you everything. There's pictures from NASA of different time periods. You'll have a picture from 2000, say 2000 and 2008, and then a picture from 2012 with the same cloud formations. You have pictures from NASA from different years that'll have the United States this big, and then another one where it's covering the whole circle. I've spent a lot of time studying NASA's nonsense. And again, it's really going to come down to, are you going to believe God? Or are you going to believe the theorist of NASA? Now let's keep going. As I said a minute ago, and I'm just going to put it on the screen, you have to pick one of these. Now there are Christians that try to live in that little white space right there in the middle. But you really have to pick. Now don't get me wrong. When I was running for governor of Alabama, I got interviewed by Huntsville news media. And one of the questions they asked me, because in Huntsville, Alabama, is a big NASA space center, right? Talking about putting Space Force there. They said, how do you expect people in the Huntsville area who are a part of NASA to vote for you? And I said, I happen to know what NASA does and what they don't do. I said, I spent hours upon hours in the CIA reading room reading FOIA documents. I said, and NASA technical manuals. I said, have you ever read a NASA technical manual? He said, no. I said, I've read dozens of them. I said, what we find out when you actually read the declassified documents and technical manuals is that NASA really does know and believe that the Earth is flat and stationary. They admit this over and over again. I'm gonna show you that today, right? But their PR campaign and everything else is that they lie to us. And some people say, okay, well, why would they lie? Why would they try to lie to us? Because this is the number one lie that Satan has, and deception that he has put upon the world. And if you ask any atheist or agnostic who actually may have been a believer or maybe on the fence about to, they still believe in God, but they hadn't totally gotten saved. And they went to college and they started hearing the theories about the Big Bang and whatever else. And they said, well, if this is true, if the Big Bang's true, or if all these other little theories are true about creation or about how we came to be, evolution and all that nonsense, if this is how we came to be, then the Bible cannot be true. It cannot be the inspired word of God. And many have walked away from their faith, or have walked away from finding their faith in Jesus Christ and the Bible. Because if the Bible is not true, then we can't. If Genesis 1 is not true, we can't believe any of it. If the book of Job, where it talks about creation, there's creation stuff all through the Bible. So basically, if we believe NASA and the scientific crowd about the origin and how the earth came to be, how man came to be, that we came from monkeys and all the other stuff that they believe, if we accept that, then you got to throw the Bible out. And many have. Many have. Now, let's get into this. Some people want to say that the Bible does not say the term flat earth, but actually, I had a brother here the other day bring me the Matthew, what is it, the Matthew Henry, or what is it, the Matthew's Bible? I can't remember. What was it going back to? What year is that? 15 what? Anyway, it does say flat earth in that Bible, all right? But does the Bible doesn't have to say a certain term, but it can describe it to you, right? So does the Bible describe the shape of the earth? Absolutely does. In Job 38. Job 38, verse 14. And just for those out there who would like to try to argue context or hermeneutics, I understand all that. The context of Job 38 is God speaking to Job saying, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Where were you when I stretched out the line upon it? Where were you when I laid the cornerstone of the earth? So the context of this chapter in the first few verses is creation. And God himself speaking to Job saying, where were you? Do you think you know it all, little man? And he gets to this point, and I use 3 different versions of the Bible here for you, even though I'm a King James guy. He says here, the earth, speaking of the earth, it is turned, the King James says, the word in Hebrew means to change it. Doesn't mean it's spinning. It means to change it as clay to the seal or the signet ring. Now, if you look at the word seal, it means signet ring. So you see the picture out there. You see the signature ring, right? Kings would wear that, and they would bring letters to them or official documents or scrolls, and they would either put wax or clay on that, and there would be a ball of little wax or clay right there, and then it would be mashed down flat by the king's signet ring, and it would have an upturned higher edge around the outside and contour in the middle. And God is saying, if you want a word picture of what the shape of the earth is, here it is. This is the Bible. Nowhere in the Bible, and I'm going to show you that again, does the Bible describe the earth as a sphere ever. And I'll prove that to you in a minute. I'll show you that in a minute. But let me read the other ones. Here's the complete Jewish Bible. Then the earth is changed like clay under the seal. Well, is that not clear? That's why I entitled my book on creation, on biblical cosmology, like clay under the seal. This verse. He says the earth is changed like clay, which a seal is pressed. The Amplified Bible. So I've never seen a seal that's been pressed down with a signet ring that's a sphere or remains a sphere. So you Christians out there are still being stubborn and still wanting to cling to the world's view of things because you're ashamed of the word of God and you're ashamed to be called stupid or be ridiculed or be persecuted. So you're not gonna go there. I'm sorry, but the word of God is clear here. You have a perfect description of the shape of the earth. Now, is that the only place? Well, there's the NIV. The earth takes shape like clay under the seal. All right. So I gave you 4 Bible versions right there on it. Now, this is something I was preparing for a message entitled The Marriage Supper of the Lamb. I was not even studying flat earth or biblical cosmology and to prepare for this message. And I was reading this verse here, this passage in Revelation 20, verses 7 through 9. And here's what it says. Let's read it in the King James Version. He says, when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the 4 quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to the battle, to the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. Now, this is after the second coming of Jesus, after the literal 1,000-year millennial reign. And if y'all are falling for that Tartaria 1,000-year reign nonsense, you are being deceived. That's for somebody out there. But it says that when this happens, Satan is loosed after the 1,000 years, and he goes out to deceive the nations again. And notice it says here, and they went up on the breadth of the earth. Do you see that? Now, I've read the Bible for years, and it's amazing how you read over things. And there's a lot of words that I've looked up in the Greek and Hebrew and studied them. For some reason, the breadth of the earth never stood out to me, but I'm reading this, and I know it's the Holy Spirit. It like jumped off the page, breadth. I was like, you know, this passage could just say they went up on the earth. Why does it say they went up on the breadth of the earth? And remember, what I believe is every word in the Bible is from God. God breathed, God inspired, right? So I believe that Jesus said, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. So I was like, every word's important. So let me look up this word. I'd never looked it up before. So I looked up this word in the Greek dictionary. And here's what the word is. Platos. Now, in the Greek dictionary, and even sometimes in the Hebrew dictionary, you're going to get a word, and then they're going to give you a root word that it comes from. But notice the word platos. That is the word we get the word plateau from. And what does plateau mean? Something level and flat. But if that's not enough for you, notice it says it's from 4116 right there, right? So you go to that in the Greek dictionary. The 4116 says platus. What does that say there, folks? Spread out flat. Do you think God used that word on purpose? Because what they should have translated that verse is they went up on the flat earth. And if you look up the word 411, there's your platus, platus, spread out flat. Right, there's all the words. Now, a little more words.
We have a question. I have a question for you. If it was proved to you beyond any doubt that the earth was round, would you still be a Christian? Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But
I mean, how many people have studied the shape of the earth subjectively and not changed their viewpoints? Do you think that a man cannot work it out? We've given you ways to test it this evening when you go out. So, I mean, a question to people, the Christians, you know, when they look at this information, it affirms the Bible and they change their viewpoint. When presented with new information, you are allowed to change your position. That's why I put that poll up. I mean, one person keeps on saying no one else has voted, but you're more than welcome to question it, say you don't know. But when presented with new information, that is how your opinions change. So we encourage people to look.
Yep.
Study, but language 101, words mean things, right? So some people like to say, well, the Bible says that God sits upon the circle of the earth, so that means it's a sphere. No. In the Old Testament, in the Hebrew language, there were 2 words, one for circle and one for ball or sphere. And that it's in these different verses. Isaiah 22:18, it says, he will surely violently turn and toss thee like a ball into a large country. Isaiah 22:18, that word there is dur. Dur is the Hebrew word for ball. But the Hebrew word for circle is different. It's kug. And that's when in the Isaiah 40:22 it is he that sits upon the circle of the earth is Kug. So you can't use Isaiah 40:22 to say the earth is a sphere. And every preacher that preaches creation wrong, every creation ministry that teaches this wrong says that verse means it's a sphere. So like Danny Faulkner, who I call Danny Stalkner, and Danny dishonest, he's a dishonest person. Number one, he knows this, and yet he puts in his book, it's a sphere. And he actually lies about me, and he actually stalked me to Wendy's one time. That's funny stuff. There's the word Kug, just to show you. It's in Isaiah 40:22. Circle, right? Circle, circuit, compass. Strong says it's a circle. Do you see anywhere in that Strong's Greek definition, anywhere that it says that it's a ball or that the word dur is used? No, never. Right? So let's keep going. There it is. So dur, circle, ball, right? Look at that. Translates ball, circle, ball, pile. So it means something that has a shape to it, right? Ball. Can everybody say in the Hebrew, say this with me, in the Hebrew, two words, Kug, circle, dur, ball. Dur is never used to describe the earth, ever in the Bible. So if you want to say, you can't use the Bible to say the earth's a sphere. No way. No way, no how. Right? Come on now. Don't shout me down when I'm preaching good. Y'all quiet as a bunch of Episcopalians out there. All right. We love Episcopalians, but they're kind of quiet. All right. Let's go to Proverbs. I'm going to give you another verse. Proverbs 8, this passage rather, Proverbs 8:27-29 here. And it says this, when he prepared the heavens, and that is the visible arch of the sky. So he's talking about the firmament. This is wisdom speaking. I believe this is Jesus speaking, right? Because he is the wisdom of God. He said, I was there when he set a compass upon the face of the depth, when he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep, when he gave the sea his decree that the water should not pass his commandment, and when he appointed the foundations of the earth. So he says there, I was there when he set a compass, right? This is a compass. Didn't y'all use those in school? I can't believe they gave them to us because they're weapons, man, right? But God said that he set a compass upon and created a circle. You know, I built a fire pit at my house, and I wanted it 4 feet in diameter. I had all my own stones and all on my property, and I said, I'm gonna build me this is for my 50th birthday because I was gonna cook me. I was having my Hawaii 5-0 party, and I cooked a 70-pound pig in this thing. But I built it. And you know what I did to make a perfect circle that was 4 feet in diameter? I took a stick and I drove it in the ground. I put a chain down on it and another stick on this end that was 2 feet long, and I made me a circle. I engraved it. I said, look here, I'm engraving me a circle. And guess what? My fire pit's a perfect circle. But this is the way the Bible describes that. Now let's keep going. Now here's Isaiah 40:21-22. Again, remember, he uses the word Kug. He says, have you not known? Have you not heard? Have you not been told from the beginning? Have you not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens. That word heavens can be the firmament, as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in. Now, folks, I've lived a little while. I'm 55 years old, but going on 56. I've been camping. I have never seen in my life a spherical ball tent, ever. But I have seen them with a flat bottom that you can sleep in. It's called a dome tent. God said the earth is like a tent. Somebody say tent. Tent. Is that thing down there, that ball that you see, that's a picture from NASA, the United States taking up that whole top of the ball there. They call that a picture. No, that's a composite image that's incorrect. But God said a tent. So let me ask you, does the biblical model of a flat domed earth look more like a tent or the one NASA tells us it is? Tell me who you're going to believe. All right. There's an ancient tent like Abraham and Sarah would have lived in. Does that look like a sphere? So when God tells through the prophet Isaiah, he tells the people of God, I stretched out the firmament. I made your place like a tent for you to dwell in. Would they ever have imagined or thought it to be a spherical ball spinning around? And why would they not think that? Because they would not think that because God did not say that. So why do Christians keep preaching this? Is because they have been brainwashed by government agencies of the world. How many of you know that recently the former head of the Russian space organization, whatever you want to call it, he said NASA didn't go to the moon. We've had 2 Russian cosmonauts come out and say the Earth is flat. And we didn't go to the moon. Why did we not be able to go to the moon? Now, you remember back before, they used to say we couldn't go to the moon because there's the Van Allen radiation belts, right? And there was too much radiation to go through there, yet somehow we did it 6 times in a tin can with less computing power than the...
And also, not just that, but this was back in 1960s, which is the technology wasn't very advanced.
Yeah.
Very, very weird. Let's continue.
iPhone has. And no radiation problems. Right. Yeah, that's what they told us. But no, let me tell you what it really is. It wasn't the Van Allen radiation belt they knew about. They knew there was a firmament dome they could not get through. Now, we don't know exactly how high it is, but I can tell you this much. At 73 miles, 365,000 feet approximately, you hit a dense ether superfluid gas, which is why they have to have 2-stage rockets. They do go up that high with the rockets. They do deploy balloon satellites into that ether current that's up there, and it also, because it's a superfluid and a gas at the same time, it creates tremendous buoyancy, and so that's why you get weightlessness one minute and not the next. That's why they've had ISS feeds where things are floating, and then all of a sudden it drops to the ground like there's normal gravity. And they'll say, oh, there's pockets of gravity in outer space. I've literally heard them say that, right? No, what they call space is an ether superfluid gas zone that they reach at 73 miles. They've all admitted 73 miles is a key altitude, all right? They hit that with your regular type rockets, and then the second stage is a little different, and that's what presses into it. And NASA admits the Echo 1, Echo 2 first satellites that we put up were in the capsule of these rockets. We plowed into the ether level to some height beyond 73 miles and deployed that Mylar balloon into that ether. Now, here's a fact for y'all folks. Any balloon put in a vacuum gas chamber like they claim outer space is, collapses immediately. But yet we have balloons, and I've gone through the CIA documents that are declassified through FOIA Freedom of Information Act request, and our entire satellite system, it's all in the documents, it's not redacted, that all of our satellites are on balloons. That Chinese balloon satellite that just flew over the United States, why that is, because all satellites are just that, all right? The beautiful thing about God, he says in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, he says, to prove all things and to hold fast that which is good, right? So this is Mobile Bay right here from a Google Earth shot. If you'll notice, there's the Fairhope Beach right there. This is the bay. This is on the east side of Mobile Bay in Alabama, North Beach Park right there. We've been there many times in different conditions, but we've done our own test across Mobile with high zoom cameras, lasers, and telescopes, right? And we shoot in different directions here. See, there's a zoom out a little bit. There's Mobile Bay, and that's due west. That's the state docks. That's 11 miles. Then you have the shot to downtown Mobile and the battleship. That's about 14.6 miles. And then you'll have a shot here. Anyway, we've taken cameras and we've shot with high zoom P900, P1000s, Nikons, telescopes and stuff. So we've done this test in multiple conditions. Now, Danny Faulkner, the guy with Answers in Genesis, that is my nemesis. When we've done these shots, he's tried to say, oh, you know, it's refraction or it's in superior mirages and all this stuff. And in his book, he tried to claim that I didn't understand what temperature inversion is. And what he didn't understand, I wasn't talking about temperature inversion. Temperature inversion is a weather event that creates a lot of disturbance in the atmosphere. What I was talking about is, let me tell you when things clear up, looking across the bay, looking across water. When the water temperature gets lower or at the same temperature as the air temperature, it clears up. This is why you can't really do these tests very well in the summer, because the water is too warm, there's too much interference from the little heat waves coming up. That's what I was talking about. I wasn't talking about a weather event. I'm talking about what clears up the atmosphere for us to see. And we made sure when we went out this time that we had air temperature and we had a temperature gauge in the water. And when it both hit 54 degrees, the water temperature, air temperature, both 54 degrees, it looked like somebody just cleared away all the fog. And you didn't even need the cameras, all right? But I'm going to show you something that we saw that I filmed actually here. Let's see. I say, okay, and this is a Google shot of what's right across due west. That's the state docks in Alabama, Mobile Bay. Y'all see those blue things right here? See those? Those are spools that they have the cables for the cranes on right there. Now I'm showing you this because I shot this stuff myself that you're about to see. So those spools are anywhere between, some of them are 12 feet, some of them are 16 feet. I think these were all the 12 footers, but just say they're 16. Google Earth also said that the dock that they're sitting on is 10 feet off the water, right? Also, we had a guy out there doing this test with us who was he worked for the Navy, designing ships for the Navy, and he used AutoCAD, and he had his AutoCAD, and he actually told me that due west, if you believe the Earth's a sphere, that's at the equator, the curvature rate, the formula is 8 inches per mile squared. Well, as you go up the ball a little bit, going due west, the curve gets more dramatic. It's actually 9¼ inches per mile squared. But I'm going to use only the 8 inches per mile squared. So I'm being conservative, you understand, in calculations of these things here. Now, this is a shot right here. You're seeing a shot of the spools from my camera at 11 miles. So at 11 miles, there is over 70 feet of Earth curvature bulge that's supposed to be blocking my view. That's a 7-story building at least. There is no way I should see those spools that are sitting on the dock in Mobile Bay. And here, I didn't just photograph them, but this is a video. And it's going to show you, I'm going to zoom out and zoom back in. This is me doing this. This is not hearsay. This is not somebody else's footage. I have this on my camera. You'll see where we are. Now, if it's a curve, no amount of zoom would allow me to see these. The curve would block my view. But as we zoom in, 83 times zoom is amazing. And we were having a little haze this day, but not bad. But you'll notice I'm going to come back to the spools here. There's no way I should see those spools. So let me tell you something. If I present to you evidence that there is no curve of the Earth, evidence that you can see, you can go with me. People go with me to do these things. Engineers, PhDs, they witness it with their own eyes. How can you any longer trust government agencies to tell you the truth? See, what this proves is that God is true and every man a liar. And you know what? That's in the book of Romans. God is true, folks. You've been lied to. Since you came into this world, they have indoctrinated you against the God of the Bible, our Lord Jesus Christ, and the truth of his word. They have constantly tried to turn you away, to get you to believe lies. And Satan has accomplices that on this earth that work with him. And let me just ask you this question. If you were invisible and had supernatural power and also a budget of $52 million a day and accomplices to help you, do you think you could deceive the world? Media companies do it every day. Pharmaceutical companies do it every day. They're the spools. We actually had people go over to the other side. You can't get in the state docks because there's security, of course, as it should be, but you can see through the fence and you can see the spools there. And there's the spools. There's their actual size. See? That's one of the big ones. Now, oh, I love this. This is one of the things that back in 2015 that kind of started the craze, because this is a professional photographer up in Michigan. I don't know if he lives in Michigan or Chicago, but he loves getting on the Michigan side of Lake Michigan there and shooting across to Chicago. And he gets out there, and I've looked at you can go to his Facebook page, website. He has done this so many times at different times of year, with different temperatures, but I've noticed a lot of times he's going there in like April and March. So that means the water is nice and cold. And so when there's no storm and it's clear, he gets shots of Chicago all the time. Now, they try to say this is a superior mirage. Folks, when there's a superior mirage, a reflection, it's actually inverted and upside down, okay? And then if you even look at the refractive indexes, there's not enough refraction to bring that into view, because at 56 miles away, that's how far this shot is. At 56 miles away, you're looking at the tallest building in Chicago, the Willis Tower, is 1,450 feet high, all right? So the Willis Tower should be hidden, the tallest building in Chicago, according to 8 inches per mile squared, it should be hidden by 423 feet of Earth curvature. Meaning that at no time, under any conditions, should you ever be able to photograph the Chicago skyline from Michigan. Ever. Not only do you see, what's interesting, oh, and I have the pictures of it, but Josh Nowicki, he has taken time-lapse photographs. He actually, because that's like due west, So the sun will set behind the Chicago skyline, and he actually has the Chicago skyline as a silhouette with the sun behind it. You can't claim refraction. You can't claim inversion. You can't claim any of the lies. Basically, all of their lies is when we see something, oh, it's an optical illusion. You're not seeing what you think you're seeing. Your eyes are lying to you. I want you to notice something that in this right here, you see the lights on in certain office buildings and off in others, because this is right at dusk. Look at that. You should see none of that. You know why you see that? Because the earth is flat. And for that matter, all water finds its level. We use water in levels to make sure everything's level, because water always finds its level. The earth is 71%.
Yeah.
Did it time out?
Yeah, because I think it's could be too late for you because right now for me it's 4:30 a.m. So I don't know how the time zone.
It's 1:30. So listen. On that note, I know it's dropped out. I've really enjoyed this. This is probably one of my favorite live chats I've had. I've not had many, but it's one of my favorite live chats. Do you remember, guys? If you like and subscribe, under every video, apart from the live chats, there are evidences of the Bible. This is kind of what this channel is based around. The truth is not subjective. So we like to show the evidence behind the Bible. And we like to take down false gods and false teachings and just generally defend God's word. But I am tired. I'm not tired, actually, but I know that I need to go to sleep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Mutaz. Mutaz, would you lead us all in prayer? Do remember, guys, I'm going to be dropping a video tomorrow. Which is going to be really cool. It's one of my edited up funny meme videos. So watch that one. That'll be up tomorrow morning. It's too late to drop with the algorithm today. God is good. I've loved this conversation. Remember, guys, you can watch this. You can test things. Lots of links in the chat. And just keep questioning. Just keep questioning. Let God be true and every man a liar. Mutaz, would you like to lead us in prayer?
Absolutely. Thank you, Father, for everything that you have given us, the knowledge, and thank you for the gift of the Holy Spirit, that we can discern the lies and the deception of the devil. Grant us, give us, and strengthen in us in our faith, in our intellect, in our physical bodies, which is the temple of God. Thank you for everything that you have given us, and thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, the only way and the only Savior in this broken and wicked world. Give us a strength to see the lies and to be a true followers of Christ. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, like and subscribe if you haven't. Just thank you so much. 2 weeks ago, this channel had 176 subscribers. It's now got over 4,000. So it's just such a blessing to be able to bring up people like Mutaz, Jono, and all you lot just jumping in with the discussion. And that's what we need to be. Be Bereans, study the word, and forget the knowledge. Know God, have relationship. So it's just a pleasure. So glory to God. Have a lovely evening. Thank you for staying so late with us as well. Peace.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Mutaz, we will see you very, very soon. You are part of this channel now, brother. Glory to God.
Thank you.
Pleasure, mate. You're an asset. See you soon, brother.
See you soon.
Peace. Peace.